returning to the server would be a possibility if the right offer came. But then at the same time, I don't think I am lucrative enough to be given that kind of offer right now. And that is also, I have really bad cards on my hand in the terms of that I'm turning 32 in a couple of days. I have 2 kids. I'm not 16 years old anymore. I cannot sit and play Counter-Strike 18 hours a day. I think that is that's just, I also got to be true to where I am in my life right now. So I think it is a possibility, but it's also a possibility that is a little bit distant right now.
The world is changing quickly. Clear. Shoot up. The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, brought to you by our lovely sponsors. We've got Skin Place. If you're in the market to sell some skins, head over there. Skin Place, check them out. 1xBet, remember to gamble responsibly. And the new sponsor that we brought in last week, that's Anthros. They're chairs. And they're shares that you're seeing at EPL that's on at the moment. So yeah, back again, another week, another episode. My face is close to the screen. Lucas has told me to sit back. It's not possible. So I apologize to everybody playing at home, especially our audio-only listeners. Striker, a massive fan of those.
Unbelievable. Can you stop at least for the playoffs, please?
No. If anything, we're going harder. Our audio-only listeners, they require the most information, Striker. So we want them to be the...
Even the fact that you're directly addressing the audience.
We're addressing the audio-only listeners. You know, we can break the fourth wall, can't we? Also, it's fine.
I also like that you make it sure that it's audio-only listeners, not audio-only watchers. For example, like in all of these other people, that could be audio-only at the time. But
true,
audio-only listeners, which we have a lot of actually on HLTV Confirmed. I think like 10K people per episode or something, which is just pretty nice.
Well, look,
shout out to audio-only people.
And all the glorpers out there. So Prof's here, Striker's here, Lucas is here, but the most important man, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the 5-time major champion, the only man with 5 majors to his name. It's Striker, Prof, me, and dupreeh. It's a bit long. It's meant to be you, me, and dupreeh. But maybe we could make a movie or something. What do you reckon, Peter?
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, I've actually been asked that question quite often, that people ask me where my nickname comes from, and that they think I stole that from the movie, but that's actually not the case. But yeah, I'm down for making a movie if you want to.
What is the origin story?
I don't know if I told it before, but I think mainly it's just that I had an older sibling and I stole it from him. He was playing playing online poker, and he was named dupreeh at that time, and I think it was he was called OG dupreeh, I think it was actually called. So and then he was doing that, and I was looking up to him, so it was very natural for me to just steal it off, and then just I added a little bit of things. I added an H in the end. It was not there in the beginning, so and then I made it a smaller, another capital D. So I changed a little bit to make it my own kind of style. But yeah,
Okay.
that's the story. So I just stole it from my brother, and he's been asking me quite frequently if he should get some percentage of my salary and everything since I stole his identity.
I feel like the sticker money at least. He
Yeah,
has some
that's
claim
true.
to.
He didn't get it. He didn't get anything. He got a lot of other stuff though.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, that just freed me out. I thought Luke was going to complain. So I was going to say it could be foreshadowing of your next organization if he was OG dupreeh.
That is not the case though. But yeah, it could have been.
Yeah. Look, mate. What have you been up to since people have seen you last? You were doing Blast at the start of the year, right? You were doing the analyst desk there, but you've had a lot of things going on in your life, I've heard.
Yeah, I just got a second kid. He's like 3 weeks old now, so now I'm a dad of 2.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's that is a challenge in itself. The first couple of weeks is obviously a little bit easier, but having to navigate and having 2 kids. One being, and it's kind of crazy. They have the same birthday, just 2 years apart.
Wow.
What?
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I don't know how that happened, but that actually happened. So now they have the same birthday, so it's also easy to remember, but it's also going to be easy in the future when we're going to play on their birthdays. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to try and navigate and having 2 kids, one being 2 years old. He has the needs and he has things that he wants to do, but you also have the kid that you need to take care of that basically can't do shit. So
I had a story from my sister who has 2 kids and one who's only like 4 months old now. But the 2.5-year-old said to her, she said, okay, so when can we take him back to the hospital?
Ooh, that's a rough one.
You think that's going to come in at some point?
No, I hope that. I think actually my older boy has been like bringing him into the family pretty well. I mean, he's a lot more like when mommy is carrying around the small one, then obviously he wants to get picked up and he wants to sit with her. So there's a lot of there's a bit of jealousy, but in hindsight, I think it's just like a natural reaction to everything. But he's kissing him and he's like hugging him, and so he thinks it's like it's exciting, but also he also wants a little bit more attention.
The family life, the reality of getting older, huh? So look, mate, you did some analyst work at the start of the year. How did you find that?
It was interesting, it was definitely a different approach compared to what I've been used to, but it was also something that I've been wanting to just like try out for fun. With my situation right now, I think it's been more about figuring out what's up next and what's going to happen and everything. So there's been a lot of things happening in my mind that I needed to figure out, and just sitting around not doing anything that's never really been good for me. So just going out there and try and do something else and try something out. I think that was very good, and it's also nice for me in a way, at least on the mental part, that at least from the feedback that I got, and people seem to be enjoying it, that I felt I was doing something else in my life that I was also good at. Like I've been playing Counter-Strike for like 14-15 years of my life, and you get kind of fed up and in some sort of a spiral where you're only good at that one thing, right? So it was nice to try and go out and experience something new. And even though it was something different, and I was very scared of going into it, and then be thinking like, why am I doing this? Why wouldn't I be playing instead? Like I was very afraid of missing this whole playing and the environment thing. But when I actually got there and I got things rolling, I actually didn't pay any attention to it. Like it came very naturally, and for me to go and do something in front of a camera has always been very natural. So I've never really second guessed myself in that decision. So I think it was a great experience.
Something you want to do more of?
I was supposed to be doing the Lisbon one coming up. And I was actually already in talks with Blast, but since I'm still contracted with Falcons, I had to be available as 6-man as a stand-in if anything was going to happen. So I had to turn that one down, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the case, but we'll see what happens in the future.
So basically, you're responsible for NBK getting a job.
I didn't say that though, but if you want to frame it like that, then sure.
Yeah, so okay, that's another key point of all of this, right? At the moment, you still are on the bench for Falcons. Obviously the team tail end of last year is when all the big changes started to happen, and we have the roster that we have now in 2025. I don't guess you can't say how long you'll be on the bench for. Could you give us any information along those lines?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say like when it expires, but it's going to be kind of soon. So in that sense, it's like it's not lasting that much longer. That's all I can say, I guess. But yeah, it's been something I've tried before. Unfortunately, obviously with the whole Vitality thing, I think the Vitality one was a lot worse, whereas this one was more like when the major came to an end. I just didn't enjoy it. I mean, I couldn't see myself doing this. The whole atmosphere in the team, and the amount of hours that we kept putting into the game, and that we just kept going nowhere, and the constant hate from the outside of the community. And I got into this point where the the pressure of having to perform, or where you wanted to improve, and how you wanted to look at yourself as a player and everything, that just kept overshadowing the joy of the game. And I think that is like, I've never been good at being in something that I don't enjoy. I think that's very normal for people, obviously, but some people are very good to like maybe just put it aside and then focus on the job, and then they can start crying about it afterwards. But I've always been in a situation where if I don't enjoy what I'm doing, then I can simply not, function in it. And I think that's also the case for when I joined Falcons, and when I came from this stint where I had some time in heroic, some time in pre-season, everything. I was actually playing the game out of the enjoyment. And when I was picked up by Falcons, the excitement of coming back into the scene and play all the events that I wanted to play, that I've been used to be playing, it was like being reborn in some sense, And I also had some really good individual moments in the beginning of the team. But the more we got into the whole atmosphere of the team, and the results never came, and then the issues that we kept dealing with, it just kept taking the breath out of me. And in the end, my mind just couldn't handle anymore. And I'm pretty certain that if I wouldn't have been benched, or I wouldn't have stopped, I would have hit some kind of a wall. So I think it was tough, yes, but it was also very necessary for me in my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Falcons roster, obviously, there's a lot of focus on it. It's a team that has a lot of money. The people who tend to join it cop a lot of shit from the community. So I imagine, having that constantly going on as well, and then not getting the results. And you're there with Magis, you're there with Zonic, but at the same time, I kind of seen it as, from the outside looking in, I can understand how you didn't have a good time, right? Like, I think everybody could see that it just wasn't working the way it was meant to. Do you think it was more the outside pressure, or the mix of players wasn't going to work, or the fact that things were likely to change in the future? What would you put your finger on of the biggest reason you think the roster didn't find much success?
I think there's multiple causes. I think, first of all, everyone in the team gave everything they had. That being the coach, the mental part, like Lars, all the players, everyone really tried. We definitely tried, but it was just never really meant to be in the way that, I think, first of all, the ways maybe Snappy and Sonic saw the game, how they wanted to approach. We've always been talking about that we always want to try, and when we bring two rosters together, that we have the best of both worlds, like we did in when we made the change from Astralis to Vitality. I think we never really got to the point where we could utilize that thing, because the playstyle that the guys from Inns came with was so much, or was so different from how we actually approached the game in Vitality. They were thriving in chaos. They were thriving around playing very unorthodox, but also having a system within that chaos. That was how they function. They knew when to take their timings for their teammates, and then how they want to capitalize as players. But I don't think that is ever how we approach the game in Vitality and Astralis. So I think it was just fundamentally very hard for us to adapt the core of the team, even though we were more players from Ends, but the core, at least the coach, me and Magisk, to transition into becoming a team that functioned a different way. I think that was one of the main reasons. But obviously also we just lacked a lot of firepower. We didn't have that superstar that Sonic kept talking about. When we got Simple for a small stint before the major, that was okay, maybe this will bring something to the table, but that didn't really solve any of our issues. And then obviously just the whole the way that we had some role clashes between me and Madden. I think that was a big mental blockade for a lot of the guys in the team, especially because both Magic and Sonic came from a very successful run with the Vitality, including myself. And then the Ends guys had a really good year prior coming into that project. So it was hard to go into something where you're promised a lot of good things, and that you want things to be working out, and you want hey, this is the super team that we want to create, and then you just hit the rock bottom, right? I think it's hard to pick yourself up from that point and not thinking, why did I actually decide to leave my previous team, right? So that's like a small margin of what I think was the issue. And then in the end, I think the problems just kept piling up, that we just didn't really seem to find a solution. I think we had a hard time figuring out what was the problem. Maybe that was the first, that was the major thing, that we ended up in this spiral of failure that we couldn't see ourselves out of. But then again, everyone tried the best. We tried to get it to work. But in the end, I think it was just the better that everyone just split and everyone went in their own direction.
Over the year, Zonic made kind of several kind of insinuations that it was never the roster that he wanted in the first place and all that stuff. And I wonder, as the guy who came in kind of halfway through that, right? After they made the first couple of changes, right? Was that ever the feeling like in the team, like that the atmosphere was just like, okay, this is just temporary anyway, or how was that from the beginning?
No, not really. Actually, I didn't. At least me, I didn't feel like when I joined the team that okay, I'm probably just here for like a temporary time, and I know that I'm not Nico and I'm not Manisi and all these kind of star players. I have never had the intention of being so. So that was not the mindset that I joined the team with. But I don't think I ever had the feeling that it was temporary in any sense. I mean, I think we put all the effort into becoming a good team and trying to get it to work with what we had. And then obviously it was most likely inevitable that it was going to be changed regardless. But I think overall we just tried to have this approach that, we might not know what the future is, but we will work with what we had. But maybe that was also one of the reasons why it was actually kind of difficult, because you always had that thought in the back of your head, maybe after a couple of months, especially also when the results started getting worse, that am I the one that's going to be, swapped out next? And do I have somewhere to play after the season and everything? So I think, it was just like a very big mess in many different ways that just ended up being uncontrollable.
You got anything here, Prof?
Yeah, what was it like playing with Simple?
It was,
kind of obviously, like you guys played 2018, when you guys were winning everything, and he was in probably his maybe best year, maybe not, but like that was a really good year for Simple. So moving like 6-7 years in the future, imagining you guys playing together, that was like not really on the bingo card, right? And obviously it wasn't Astralis and it wasn't like that same Simple, but it must have been interesting nonetheless.
I mean, I think it's always interesting to try and play alongside one of the rivals that you've been going up against for so long, and having to play. Well, I can check off the list of playing with Saibu, Device, and Simple. It's kind of a good checklist, right? But yeah, it was interesting to say the least. I mean, I think it was very nice to try and see how he thinks about the game and how he sees the game. And there's no doubt that he's like super talented in the way he sees the game, and he has that sixth sense that all these star players has. And I think that. Obviously, it's not the same Simple as he was back, as you mentioned, like back in the years. But I still think it was a nice time to a certain degree. I mean, it obviously also was difficult to play with him because, he also had his expectations and he wanted to show that he was capable of coming back and playing like a top tier level. So I think for him, there was also a lot of thoughts coming into the project, and I also think that it's the same thing for like when Sonic brought him in, that they wanted him to just go out and you do your things, and I think it was just an attempt to try and spark something within the team, but I don't think that actually happened.
Yeah, well, that was pretty late in the year, right? He played a total of like 16 maps with you guys or something, right? So at that point, I think, the writing was probably already on the wall. It was just another one of these, felt like a bit of a band-aid from the outside looking in. Let's kind of look a little bit forward, I guess, Peter. You said the contract likely coming to an end with Falcons soon. What's the plans for the future? Do you want to get back in the server?
Both yes and no. I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons about it. I think unfortunately there's too many cons right now, to be completely fair. With the addition of my second kid, and also the feelings that I've had the last couple of months since I was benched, having time to live life, I guess, see my family, spend time with my friends, people I haven't been seeing for almost a decade, or at least I've always been neglecting them. I think that has been, you kind of forget about it when you're like in the middle of everything, but as soon as you get out of it and you just have a moment of breath, then you start realizing that what you actually miss out on as well. But then on the other hand, I miss competing. I miss working with a team. I miss all the good things about being in a team traveling. Not like the travel part where you actually sit in an airplane, but being around somewhere in the world, get to explore things, get to sit in the practice room and prepare, and all this, the feelings of being with someone that wants to achieve the same thing as you. I think that is something that I greatly miss. And obviously, when the big games are on stage, I played. You get this feeling of, damn, I wish it was me again. But then I've also had my share of the trophies and everything. So I'm also, in some sense, it's kind of hard to say that I'm satisfied. I don't think I will ever say that I'm satisfied with what I've achieved, because I'm just like that. I keep wanting more, and maybe that's also one of my issues. But I think overall, I think that returning to the server would be a possibility if the right offer came. But then at the same time, I don't think I am lucrative enough to be given that kind of offer right now. And that is also, I have really bad cards on my hand in the terms of that I'm turning 32 in a couple of days. I have 2 kids. I'm not 16 years old anymore. I cannot sit and play Counter-Strike 18 hours a day. I think that is like, that's just, I also got to be true to where I am in my life right now. So I think it is a possibility, but it's also a possibility that is a little bit distant right now.
Okay. So would coaching be something that would interest you, or do you feel that would be like the same level of time requirement? Because I'm sure you've seen over the years just how much time Danny's spending. He has the family balance as well. Obviously the analyst stuff. Would you prefer something like that where you can kind of pick and choose your events a bit more?
I think the whole analyst part is something that I'm still considering. It's something that I liked doing, and as you just mentioned, the whole pick and choose, that I can go whenever I feel like, and I can match my life, my private life into a little bit more. I think that is very lucrative. But at the same time, even though I said I was not scared of it when I started here, like I'm still scared of missing out on playing, and I'm feeling that I deserve a spot in the team, and then someone else, also with everything. So I think it's kind of hard for me to see if I can leave my ego behind. I guess I think that's like the true, the honest answer. But yeah, that could be a possibility. But at the same time, coaching, it's very time consuming. But at the same time, it's also something that gets you involved, being around a team. I remember that I've been quoted for it maybe 6 years ago. I said that I was too stupid to be a coach.
We were too stupid to be an IGL. I think that was the one. Maybe you said that the other part as well.
Yeah, maybe I can become an IGL. Then there's no expectation for me to frag anymore. I can just sit and deal paychecks like everyone else. So I'm sorry. No, I mean that could be a possibility, of course, in the future. But then again, I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist. I think it would be very hard for me to pick up a team that is too big of a caliber as a get-go. Because I think if that would end up being like a tough project to start in, not knowing where to start, what is my identity as a coach? Like, what do I want to bring? What can I take from all the coaches that I've been working with, and mainly Sonic, and like, how do I want to do things? I just don't want to pick up the coaching part just because I can get like a contract somewhere and just like earn money. I want to do it because it actually matters. I want to do it because it's something that actually I want to evolve the game, or I want to evolve players, or work with talents, or whatever it could be. And I don't want to start off by just risking my reputation by picking up a project and then it doesn't work because, I don't know, it could be for many reasons, right? So there's a lot of thought process into that as well. And maybe I would consider waiting a little bit, get a little bit more, like my life a little bit more in balance in terms of maybe my kids growing up a little bit more, but, still sticking around, following the games, following the scene, so I can maybe in a year or so pick it up, see if it's something, maybe start an assistant coach role, start somewhere else, I don't know, where I can maybe see myself develop and rise into a role that I feel like I can fit into. I think that is maybe my best answer to the whole coaching part. So yeah, I think that's the best answer.
Okay, so the future is still very much open.
It is very, very open.
See where life takes you.
Yes, and I've not really made a decision about anything yet. And I've also encouraged myself to just not stress about it. I have a really good economy. I don't need to stress anything. I don't need to, work my way around and picking up a job that I don't want to. I can take my time and just, enjoy the good things in life right now. Get to travel with my family, get to spend some time with my kids, see my parent. Well, my mom. My dad is not here anymore, but my mom. But the rest of the family, do some of the things that I couldn't do when I was playing. I think that is where I'm in life right now, to try and get a little bit of more of quality instead of having to work on the quantity part.
Sure. You just spoke about your finances in the most Counter-Strike way I think I've ever heard anyone.
Economy.
We've got a good economy. I can drop it all. We're good. We got plenty of buys. It's not a problem. We got everything sorted. Okay, sweet. All right, that's nice. So we see where you're at. Second kid, congratulations. Birthday soon. Still under contract, so still getting paid right now.
Yep.
And then the future, it's bright. Anything can happen for dupreeh. We could definitely use you on the analyst test, though, mate. Right? It's been a while since we've had pros retiring and taking those positions, especially. Like, imagine every time you start, and 5-time major winner. It's like, fucking hell. People are going to have to pay attention to that one, aren't they? Okay, beautiful. Does anybody else have any questions for dupreeh before we jump into Skinionaire?
Honestly, you gave such great in-depth answers that I feel there's no need for any follow-ups or anything. It's like you gave us everything.
We'll finish before 6, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not since I'm talking too much. That's also been one of my weaknesses. I have to keep talking too much.
Now, well, you talk as much as you want tonight, mate. We're going to dig into some stuff to do with Falcons a little bit later on, so maybe we can get some personal insights there. But all right, let's jump into it. We're going to do Skinionaire. This is the quiz we do on a weekly basis. This is brought to everybody playing at home by Skinplace, even our audio-only listeners. 5 questions, multiple choice. If you get all 5 correct, one lovely viewer or user or Twitch chat commenter, I guess is probably better, could take home a $50 skin. Now, type Skinplace in chat right now for your opportunity to enter the raffle. Dupreeh, are you ready to take on Skinionaire, which is about Danish CS and Astralis?
I mean, I can only fail on this one, right?
Look, mate, if it's Dimitri who did the questions, I will just apologize ahead of time because they're fucking tough. He's really putting the gauntlet down. So I'll apologize on behalf of Dimitri. And then I guess Prof, because Prof probably tasked Dimitri to do it.
And approve it.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
All right, let's get this one underway. Who wants to be a Skinionaire? Brought to you by Skinplace. Question number 1. At PGL Cluj, Magis said that he's taking every game with a big smile, facepalm, prayer, or sedative.
I mean, that must be a smile. That's something he's said before. I even heard him say the other day that he said the one thing that he's been saying a lot for the last couple of years is, guys, we need to smile. We're playing a video game for a living. That is like his quote. So
what he said at Bruges as well.
Yes, it has to be a smile on this one.
Okay, gonna lock in a big smile. Correct answer is.
Don't disappoint me now.
big
Yeah, I was like, don't disappoint me now.
Maybe the sedative part was also true at some point, but maybe the previous version.
All right, let's get into question number 2. On this day 10 years ago, you were playing for Astralis, TSM, or Team Question Mark?
Fuck,
2015.
Obviously, it was not Astralis, and Team Question Mark was made before like coming into Astralis, so it must be TSM. I actually got no. Yeah, it must be TSM because I actually got a Facebook reminder like today, I think, where we had a photo shoot with the TSM League of Legends guys. So I was like, that's 10 years ago. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah, TSM.
Looking at BTSM.
Crazy.
Yeah. That was in Katowice, actually. That's the
correct answer is TSM. Yeah, I played you guys as TSM. Oh, were you Team Question Mark? But we played at that like game show one in Gamescom.
Oh, the one where you were brought to stage and you had to pick or something.
Yeah.
No, we were.
You played Envious in the final, I think.
Yeah, the spread got fucked up.
Oh yeah. We weren't aligned. We had an alliance.
Yeah.
I think our alliance was with Envious.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that was like the worst format I've ever tried. It was fun, but it was horrible.
Yeah. Hey, OJ Borge, I think it was his first event as well. All right, let's go. Question number 3. Who of the 3 in a row is the latest to win a LAN as a player? So that's the big Astralis boys. Device, Glaive, Magisk, or Zipex?
I mean, it depends on how you see it. Who of the 3 in a row is doing as a player? So there's probably not Zipex. And the last one, Magisk won, that was with
Vitality, right?
Yeah, must be in Vitality. That was like the Saudi Arabia and one thing. So it must be Glaive. He won the Elisa something, I don't know.
With Ents, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
okay. Locking in B, Glaive. Correct answer is B, Glaive. So that felt like a bit of a trickier one, but they didn't get you there.
No, but because as a player, then, if it didn't say that, then obviously Zipex because they won Cluj, but yeah.
Okay, nice. We're smashing this. All right, let's get into question number 4. So far, Device is the only player to have 2 major MVPs, 2 Astralis stints, or 9 top 20 entries. Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, Jesus. So, major MVPs, he definitely has 2.
But is he the only player to have this? That's the tricky part.
No, because Colchera has one. Has right. So it cannot be that one.
Doesn't Nico have more than 9 top 20 entries?
I think he just made didn't he just make I think he just made a record where he was like there for the 10th time or something. And then but then again 2 Astralis stints. Did anyone go out of Astralis? and
This
then
is
come back.
not counting like bench, like go for it to the bench or like take a
No,
break.
but
or something.
leaving a team and then
Yeah.
joining a team and then coming back. Okay, we gotta. It has to be that one because he's the only one who's done that.
All right, locking in 2 Astralis stints.
Yeah,
Correct answer
it has
is
to be.
2 Astralis stints. Oof, okay. Like the logic on that one. All right, final
People
question.
matched the device. They both have 9 now.
Oh fuck!
Ah.
I had bad info there. I almost threw that. Okay, I was wrong but right at the same time. Last one. Question number 5.
Hmm.
Since Zipex joined Mouse as an assistant coach exactly 1 year ago, holy shit! How many lands did the team win? 1, 2, or 3?
Pretty sure they won their first one in Cluj, because they've always had this issue of winning the stadium stages, whatever you call it.
They won some EPLs, but was that before or after Zip? I don't
What
even
was
know
it,
the
a year
answer.
ago?
It has to be before he joined. I'm pretty certain. Or was it? I'm fucking confused now.
Did they
When
win a
he-
bet boom?
No, they did. Did they?
They did, but I don't remember when.
Then
I don't
if-
remember
yeah,
at what
yeah,
point
yeah,
Zipex came into
He
the
was
team.
there,
I
yeah,
don't
because he
remember.
was about to get his kid at that point. So yeah, it has to be true then.
2?
Yeah.
All right, we're locking in B2. Correct answer is 3.
No.
So it has to. Is it the EPL, the bet boom, and
Must have
the
been.
Cluj?
That's what chat is saying. That's what chat is saying.
So he
I'm
was
gonna-
there for that EPL win. Well, 4 out
Right.
of 5. That ain't bad.
We'll take it.
Well, look, they're tough questions. I told you, Dimitri, he's a cruel man. It's because it comes out of his salary, so they got to make sure that he gets paid. All right. Well, that was who you did well. Who
It was
wants to
okay.
be-
It was okay.
who
I
was-
needed some questions about myself.
Well, I thought there'd be a bit more personal stuff in there too.
Clearly not.
We
We're
gotta
keeping track of your former teammates, what they're
Yeah,
doing.
that's good. That's good though. Now
Who do,
that
you
I don't do
who
it.
do you think is in the best position right now? After you, obviously, because as you said, economy's great.
I think all of us has a pretty good economy. Let's be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Spinx obviously has his success in Mouse. I think that's been good for him. I met with him as like a month ago, and he said that he was actually enjoying his time very much, and he liked it, and they had a really good atmosphere, and he liked it very much. So I think he's enjoying his time there. Glaive and Ends, I don't know. I think he wants to continue playing. I also think that he wants to try and go for like a bigger team, but I'm not sure if people are willing to, take the chances on him. His age, 2 kids as well with me, and also like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's not bad for him. Obviously, he has a team he's playing, but obviously he's still grinding like a lot of online tournaments, and he's not participating in the big ones. So I'm not sure what he personally thinks. Then obviously. Damn, is everyone doing it? I'm the only one not doing anything. I mean, Magisk, I don't know. It's been pretty shit for like a while, right?
You guys all actually are at very different stages,
Yeah, we
Okay,
definitely are.
Zipex
We
is an analyst for a team now. Your last job is an analyst on a broadcast.
Yeah, I think
Couple of
Device
them are
just
still
took a
playing.
break, and
I
came
think
back again.
Magisk has some, like, it's improved because their team are doing better than we did previous. So I mean, it's got to be an improvement in some sense. And Device, yeah, I don't know about this whole Astralis project right now. I think it's I don't know. It's difficult. I think it's very difficult for all of them, to be honest. I don't think they're like, for the organization, for the players, for everything. Like, I think it's just tough being an Astralis fan and a player and management and everything right now. I think they're just in sometimes they look to be in a good spot, but then sometimes they're not. So it's like very back and forth for them. So if I had to pick one, I think Spinx is the one who's doing the best.
He's probably the least stressed.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's winning something, even though he's not playing. But he's winning something as part of the team.
Yeah, he's there, and I haven't seen him here. Maybe he's coming for the playoffs, but I don't think he was there for the group stage. So
I didn't see him either. No, I didn't see him. Like, a few analysts came, but not many of them, to be honest.
I think he has this kind of an agreement that he's working remote. Some of the events, like the ones that are not like too lucrative. Let's be honest, EPL has never like been the one that people wants to like win. It's always like it's a good tournament for getting a lot of games, and it's nice to have something to play. But if you could pick between winning Cologne and EPL, you obviously go for Cologne. So he is at the big ones, from what I know, and then he will be remote working for the smaller ones, and also then if they make playoff, I think he flies in or something.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, shout out to our winner of Skinionaire for this week, Ferry_boat. Congratulations. Our people reached out to your people. That was brought to you by Skin Place. All right. Let's keep trucking along, shall we? We just started to dip our toe into the conversation to do with EPL, which is finished at stage 2 or the group stage part before we're getting into the playoffs. We've got our 8 teams locked in. It'll be kicking off tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. That's going to be quarters. Saturday semi-final, grand final, best of 5 on the Sunday. So the long and the short of it is it was Swiss. So we've had a lot of Swiss lately. We had Cluj, which was Swiss. Now we've gone into EPL, which is 2 Swiss stages. We're kind of giving people a taste tester for what to expect for the major, which will be 3 Swiss stages. Everybody loves game. Well, actually, they'll have best of ones. So this is slightly different. Yeah, not the greatest thing in the world, right, to be having the best of ones at a major, but whatever. It is what it is. Valve seem to be happy. So Vitality and Spirit, they were the 2 teams who qualified in the 3-0 category, and pretty easily. It was pretty straightforward, I thought. I didn't think there was too much pushback for any of the teams. Peter, do you agree with the general sentiment that these 2 are head and shoulders above the rest right now?
Yeah, I don't think anyone can touch those guys right now apart from each other. That sounds really weird, but you know what I mean, right? I'm not the one with, well, obviously I was the one with the dirty mind right there, but I think that's a really good case. I mean, it's just like the Dong Sai-Wu show, right? If you put, I mean, for that matter, if you took both players out of the equation, I think it would be a whole different story. Then I would still give the edge to Vitality because I think they have the better player pool. So yeah, I think both teams are playing pretty well right now.
What do you think about Flame Team Vitality? I mean, obviously he was the one who came in to replace you. What do you think about his evolution in the last 2 years?
I mean, he's this young guy that seems to be like running everywhere, and I think that's exactly what the Epics wants. So I think it's a really good fit for the team. And in that sense, I think that he's been doing a really good job. He's also developed within the team. I think a lot of people at least seem to be underestimating him in the beginning when he was joined, like when he took my place for that matter. But I think he's exactly what Apex needs in his team. So, I mean, he's a perfect fit for that one.
Honestly, if I even think like personality-wise, kind of rewind you 10 years back. If there's a player now that would do an interview outside of a sex shop and then walk into it in Bucharest, that would be Flames probably, Sure. This video exists up there if people want to go on HLTV and find it. This is the thing that happened with dupreeh. So, I feel like they got the best replacement they could, and he was free at the time. So it's just one of those that made sense. Kind of like this Rob's signing again, like Vitality with these 2 signings in the last 2 years. Just amazing work from that perspective, honestly.
Can I throw a grenade in the mix here? So obviously, you guys played with Spinx.
Yeah.
Well, not you guys, just you, actually. But you were part of the team when Spinx was there. And then now you see it getting to the point where we heard in the middle of last year he was interested, or there was rumors, that he was going to leave the team. And then at the end of last year, he ended up leaving the team. Was there anything from your time where you could see maybe there was friction, or could you maybe speculate, if you wouldn't mind, on maybe why Spinx would be wanting to leave, especially a team with Zaiwu?
No, not at all. Honestly, there was no issues back then at all. I was also kind of surprised, but I don't know where it comes from. Obviously, it must have started. I don't know if it started when Flamesy joined the team, or if there's something between those 2 guys. Or I'm honestly I don't know. Because there was no issues whatsoever when I was playing alongside Spinx, and I was fairly certain that Spinx was going to stay in Vitality for a long time. So yeah, it also came to surprise to me. But I even remember with the first LAN that I went to with Falcons was the EPL on Malta. And I remember that was like when I started hearing about the issues they had at the first part, and I saw the guys sitting in the lobby or something talking around, like they had split up in groups. So not like, in a way that they were like, talking behind each other's back, but, they were sitting and, it seemed like doing like a team exercise or something, talking about different kind of things. So that was like when I got to learn about that there was some issues. And then I asked Sonny about it, if he knew anything, and he was also a little bit unaware of what was going on. So yeah. I have no idea what's happened.
Okay. Well, they got a pretty good pickup in ROPS, so I think they're sitting pretty at the moment. Those 2 teams go into the playoffs on opposite sides of the bracket, thanks to them going 3-0. So the next time we would see them play would potentially be the grand final, right? So if they continue playing the form they have, I guess we can discuss the bracket at length in time, so we can see how that all weighs up. But Prof Striker, have you seen anything that makes you concerned with these teams with playing, or you're just like, yeah, these are the two clear best teams in the world right now, and they're heading in the right direction?
Honestly, not really. Like they do really seem head and shoulders above anyone else. Like the number 1 and number 2, and then the gap to whoever you want to pick as 3 and 4 is pretty huge. Like depending on the day, it could be Navi. Like depending on the ranking, it could be Mongols. But I think like if you think about teams winning tournaments and winning a tournament like this, it's like these two, and then we'd have to have something really go bad for them on the day for them to lose any game, like moving towards the grand final, right? If they're not losing to each other, it would be kind of a big surprise. So it's just it's interesting to see how like moving towards the major, these two seem to be just like so far ahead.
I think it's also a result of like a lot of teams kind of falling off right around the changes. Like G2 is obviously worse than they were last year. FaZe is, as far as I can tell, worse than last year. Like they're, I mean, they're obviously not here. MOUZ are in this transitional period as well. You know, so all these teams that we saw as the big elite kind of fell off, while Spirit and Vitality at least stayed at the same level, if not improved in terms of Vitality, probably, you know. So I think that's kind of the result of that. Navi, the same thing, you know, they were being a little bit shaky at the beginning of the year, not quite on the same tournament winning level, you know. So that's probably the reason.
I think that's like that's a good point you made. I think that's also one of the reasons why they seem to be better than everyone else. But then I've also just been thinking about, because when I watch them play, it's not like they are doing anything crazy, like anything out of the ordinary, other than they just have like the firepower and they have the fear factors in all the players. And you know, that's just how it is when if you join the server and you know you're gonna go up against like the likes of Saru and Rups for that matter as well. You know, it's you know, it's just a good card to have in your back pocket, that you know that you have this fear factor on enemies already when you get from the get-go, and that is exactly what Dunk also provides for the rest of the players out there. Is like whenever they go up against Dunk, people's like, I'm just gonna go out and kill Dunk, you know, because he's not that good, but he is that good, you know, and he just brings that firepower to the table that no one else is bringing up. And I think that is also one of the reasons, and we've just seen how Counter-Strike has also developed into that firepower is just more important than ever, in my opinion, especially with how the game is being played right now. If you don't have the firepower to take on and win out the duels and just win out by doing something individually, then you basically will have a hard time winning. Whereas maybe if you go 3-4 years back, you could rely a lot more on being a good strategist and make like good calls and make good decisions. Now it's more about like if you get that extra kill in that important duel, or if you are making the right decision as individuals. Like I don't think Counter-Strike has ever been as individual as it is right now. Yeah, both in decision making, but also in terms of firepower, for that matter.
That's a big statement.
Not even back in like 2015 or whatever, like when people were kind of just running around a lot, or at least the couple of years before that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, like I remember going back in the days. Yes, you had Fnatic. That was like the best team out there. And yeah, they were just like running around defaults and, you know, killing people. And sometimes if you go back and look at the VODs, you're thinking like, how could people even play the game back then? But I just think that the game has developed so much, also in the way that you practice, with the whole FPL circuit coming into play, with the way that FaceIt in general just works out, that, you know, the level has just risen so much over the last couple of years, that it's so much more about knowing that extra piece of utility, or getting that extra frag, or knowing when to play a specific decision, or when to swing and when not to swing. You know, that like you get weighted on so many more small details than you would maybe 5 years ago. And also in the fact that if you don't have that extra firepower, you would just end up losing duels that you're not supposed to lose, and you cannot afford to whiff shots anymore. Like it's just not possible.
I think the biggest difference from like 2015 to like 2025 is like, I think the lower end is so much higher now. The worst two players on the team are so much better than they were back then. I think like, yeah, maybe like certain teams could bully the way around with like a few really good players, but I feel like, you know, that gets exploited a lot more now if you have like players that are just, you know, whatever, the Fiflarian of the time, or whoever was like a super support element, or a Smiths or something like that. I think that would be like a lot more abused today.
Yeah, okay. Well, I did this last week, and I wouldn't mind just quickly doing it again for some of the people who, Prof, you said there's a lot of people who do just listen audio only. So if they miss the matches, we did have Vitality beat MIBR, 3D Max, and Mouse, so they swept that. That's why they're 3-0. And then Spirit took down TYLLO, Saw, and the Mongols. Now, I understand when people look at that, they go, oh, well, they're not playing the best opponents. Well, they're not meant to the group stage, and they're the 2 highest seeds. Like, people tend to forget.
And also, they're playing Saw because Saw beat NAVI the day before. So, can't really do much about that, can you?
True. So yeah, that's a key point right there. And I was just having a look because Apex mentioned something on the couch in their post-game interview. I was going back. I think I got as far back as 2017, not 2017, season 17 of EPL. They haven't dropped like a series in a group stage. I have to go past that to keep checking. But so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, Vitality have gone straight through to the playoffs without dropping a series. So they've dropped maps, but not series. And then there's a few of those there where they get to the playoffs and then they lose to Monty, for example. So
group stage merchants.
We'll have to see what happens when we do get into the studio on the weekend.
I mean, they were the ones who got the at least somewhat difficult matchup, right, in Mouse in that last game for 3-0. So, and they destroyed them completely.
Spirit
like that game. No, Vitality.
Spirit had Mongols though, which they'd lost to before, right? Cologne. Last year.
Groups.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a bit of a throwback.
Well,
Couldn't remember what you were talking about.
They did lose. They did get like owned in that series. I'm pretty sure. But I think that there was a bit of heat on the line in that series. Did you catch that one, boys? Where you had there's a few funny moments there. Obviously, Apex yelling at Spinx with the whole baiting stuff, which is we've seen Snappy do that to Spinx before as well. And then the funniest one was when Jimmy was saving and the Twitter porn line. I thought that was hilarious.
I wish Apex never stops playing just for this reason. Like regardless, like he's probably going to go into coaching at some point. He will stop playing or whatever. But as a coach, you can't really get into that sort of stuff because you're not the one playing. Like you're not the one who has all the adrenaline. And all that.
Who's gonna stop him?
To be honest, he probably will anyway. But it is kind of a shit thing to do if you're a coach. You're not even the one killing them. So it's like you can't really get into their face. But it's gonna be such a sad day when the Apex stops playing, man. Like that was like a little bit of a compilation from Vitality as well. It's like the best Apex moments. Man, this is the most entertaining thing of this whole setup. Where they are facing each other and all that stuff. So it's really fun.
Yeah, been some good enjoyment. Peter, would you be out there doing that? Would you be throwing the trash talk across?
I've never really been a trash talker, to be honest.
Not in Danish even?
No, I think, holy shit, my throat is doing something crazy now.
If you need to get some water, that's all good.
No, it's fine. I think it'll
pass.
It'll recuperate. Yeah, no worry. No, I think it's, I remember back in the days, obviously, trash talking was like a thing. But then when we transitioned to Astralis, we started winning like pretty much everything. Then I remember that we had this talk in the office, and one of the guys working at the office, he was like, he's been working with talking with the press and everything. He's like the communication manager, whatever it's called. He told us like we need to be like the big boys, we need to be the ones that we're just cool, we're just like destroying everyone and we stay cool. We don't talk shit about anyone, that's how he raised us. And that kind of just kind of stuck to my brain, knowing that if I'm the one destroying someone, I don't need to pick on someone, like even if they're yelling shit at me, I don't want to pick on them because I'm the big boy, I'm the one winning, I'm the one that's laughing in the end because I will win, la la la. And that just kind of stuck to me for a long time. So I don't feel like the whole trash talking, but yeah, it's funny, but it's like never really been my thing.
Yeah, okay.
All right, PR train, man. Yeah. Classic Astralis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's jump into NAVI. One who had some comm segments come out. Did you guys catch those?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So for those who missed them, there was two. There's one of like JL raging and so like fuck this game, which is classic to hear from Counter-Strike players and raging at Counter-Strike when they die. And the other one was a round on Mirage that they were playing, and they ended up winning the round, I'm pretty sure. And Emma goes to Aleksib, something along the lines of, "Oh, hey Aleksib, let me go connect her first next time." And then Aleksib he just goes, "Can't we have one fucking round where you guys don't say something?" And just tilts at him. So that was funny to see, obviously, the community blow back to that. I'll go to you again here, Peter. When you see that happen, as someone who's played in competitive Counter-Strike teams for a very long time, how commonplace is those little spats?
I think it's very common for teams that are not having any success, but it's also going to be very common for a team that has had some really great success. And I think that is what I think is maybe happening to NAVI right now, is that they've had success. They've won the major. They've won multiple events. Apart from that one, they have been considered the best team in the world. people started looking at them, seeing what are NAVI doing right and everything. And that happened multiple times for us back in first of all, Vitality, but also in Astralis, that when you start finding success, then you're just kind of like, you're on the riding the wave, you're having a good time, but then all of a sudden you need to start working for that triumph again. And you also need to remember that it will not always be easy as a counter. You will always have a downgraded performance when you are a team. And I think that is maybe what NAVI is hitting right now. So I think they need to figure out what made them good in the beginning, like what was their success criteria, and they need to look at that. And then obviously they need to try and limit the frustrations, because we've also had situations back in Astralis when we were winning everything and we were still being, I wouldn't say toxic toward each other, but it could happen that when we went then hit a period where we were not playing well, then we started blaming each other, like, why are you not doing like you're supposed to? Why are you not doing all these kind of things that you usually do? Things just change, and I think it's one of those challenges you go through as a team that will actually define if you can get over that hump and start winning again. If NAVI can get to that point where they can solve the issue or whatever they have, let's not make it a big drama thing. That's also what they said themselves. But if they can get over that hump and get back into winning ways, they will also be like twice as strong mentally and stuff like that from where they come from. So I think it's a really good challenge that a lot of teams go through, but it's also something that's very hard to overcome.
Oh, fair.
I wonder what was playing into that, because I mean, to put some context into it, like, this came first of all, this game came the day after they lost to Saw and after they lost the first map to TYLLO, right? And so they're 5-1 on Mirage, second map, and then whatever, probably something from the first map is still spilling over to the second. That first Inferno, by the way, was fucking crazy too. Like, they were losing, they looked terrible on the Inferno against TYLLO, So like, I can understand where like you get frustrated because like everything's just going wrong and all that stuff, then you kind of try come back, but then you get it shut down in the end, so like that spilling over to the second map, I don't think that's super out of the ordinary, especially if you're losing like to kind of teams that you're supposed to be just destroying, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, the frustration is also, frustration is fine as long as it's controlled. And being in NAVI's shoes, yeah, they should not lose to Saw. They should not lose to TYLLO. They are a better team, but yeah, upsets can happen. But then of course they can be frustrated by that they don't win these matches. But it's also when you as a team enter a period where you're not playing that well, you always try to look for the reasoning behind it, but also you maybe try and overcompensate. Like, you start doing other things by trying to compensate for what your teammates are maybe not doing. If this guy's usually doing this A, then I will try and do B, because someone needs to do, So it's always, you need to try and go back and find your roots of where you had your success, and not trying to overcompensate for what someone else is not doing to actually get that success back. It is definitely something that is very hard. But it's also the one that maybe has the right to be grumpy or the right to have frustration is the in-game leader and the coach. They're like the two main guys that are allowed to be, I wouldn't say idiots, but maybe in some sense it sometimes requires you to be an idiot for someone to actually get the point of why you're actually playing bad. It's not like it will always be just like fucking flowers and rainbows and people are talking good stuff about each other. You also need to get to a point where you need to address that someone is not doing their job or not doing things correctly, and then you need to figure out where you can adjust things to try and go back to normal.
There's an interesting insight into NAVI in general. I mean, I think in Blast Bounty, the Harry asked Blade something about like what their atmosphere is like, and his answer was something like, I don't remember a tournament where we didn't tilt, It's
exactly.
How is that possible? Like it's a team that won like 4 tournaments in a row, or like made it to 7 finals in a row, or whatever it was,
Tilting is just part of Counter-Strike, I guess. It's just like, it's just how you control it and how it affects the upcoming rounds, because if you tilt in a certain situation and you keep dwelling in that tilt and you bring it on to the next round or the next round and even into the next maps, then yeah, you will lose. But if you are tilted about something and you can mentally reset in 10-15 seconds, then it's fine.
Yeah, so I guess the question here is, like, with that in mind and the conversation we just had, are NAVI okay? Because for me, they're the third best team. Now, when I say this, I mean third best team in big boy tournaments with stages and arenas and that, like, because we're going to get into
in terms of like winning a tournament, you would put them like third most likely.
Oh, this is where we get into a weird conversation because we're at EPL, because now we can bring Eternal Fire and Mongols into the mix. Yeah, those teams with the Counter-Strike and the individuals in a studio setting can compete with NAVI. They can, right? But in terms of if we were on a big stage, I give NAVI the edge there. So at the moment, like when I'm talking about winning a Cologne, a Katowice, or a major, that's where NAVI for me are the clear like third string team at the moment. And then after that, because we're at EPL, the conversation gets a little bit more murky. In a good way for competitive matches, right? As opposed to having some blowouts in this 18 bracket. But do we think the team is fine? Are we concerned, right? There was those rumors that were dispelled quickly by NAVI about, Wonderful's going to get replaced. Like, do we all think NAVI's good?
Yeah, I definitely do so, because NAVI has the player material. They have the winning formula. Maybe they're not following it completely. And some people jump the bandwagon that, okay, there's like a clip where someone is saying something toxic or saying something that could be at least intended toxic. That for me is not like an unhealthy sign unnecessarily. For me, that can also be a sign of that the team are in a process of figuring out what is going wrong. And yes, there will be some waves going high and there will be some frustrations, but the fact that it actually happens means that they are actually, in my opinion, aware of it. And it's just like something that just randomly happens, but it's something that they are aware of and they know they're working on this. So it's like, and you can't go back to any team in the history of Counter-Strike that has not had issues or situations like this. This is completely normal in a professional Counter-Strike team.
Yeah, I think there are some. I mean, there are some limitations to the players in NAVI, and there's always been this. I think like if you look at their game at EPL, CT sides have been where they've struggled a bit, and it's like between Ima and JL. If you look at the roles that they have, these are the two players that should probably be performing better, combined with Wonderful, who is like questionable, like in terms of like the top tier oppers and where the NAVI as a team is. He's probably like below that level, right? You have some oppers that you would put above him, right? So I think that's mainly where their issue is now, and like finding that consistency out of players that are not bit, essentially, who also on the City side can't have that much impact because of his role, right? So I think that's where right now NAVI is struggling. And like dupreeh, what you're talking about, like maybe people trying to overcompensate does kind of fit what their issues are, because essentially it's like, JL needs to perform to a certain level and Ima needs to perform to a certain level because where they are on the team and on the map. And if they're not doing that, you can't really make up that out of thin air, essentially. Exactly. So that's for me like the big thing. And like, people, obviously this whole clip, first of all, it's crazy that it got put out because it does sound very bad, and it probably, like, talking to people, I think Navi's atmosphere is pretty okay. Like, it's not like they had 25 clips like this and then they picked one and put it out. Like, these things can always kind of get, if there's one clip, it feels like there's probably them doing this 10 times per map, right? Yeah. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're like, the atmosphere in the team is like dog shit. And then people are talking about like, should Simple come in for Wonderful? And I think no one in Navi wants that. And we've been talking about this for the last year.
You get a lot more of those comms if you get Simple in Navi.
That's going to be a present, omnipresent occurrence, I would say. Situations like this, people complaining, snarky remarks and stuff like this. I would at least expect that. Who knows? Anything can change.
But it's also like this. This clip is like, it's like nothing. Like I've tried things 10 times worse. Like 10 times worse than that. Yeah. You're like, not saying that, hey, I'm gonna fucking kill you if you don't do this. It's like that. But it's more like people just jump this bandwagon that this is, oh my god, they're like in super shambles and they are talking like not rainbows and flowers to each other. I have a funny story with back in Astralis when we were playing a grand final. I don't remember which one, and then I remember
I can't blame you for that.
No, that was not to sound cocky or anything. But I remember that I'm gonna rat out Glaive and Magic now because it's funny. But it's we had a situation where Magic has like been crowned like the prince or the king of pit or whatever you want to say. Like he likes to play pit, And I remember there was like a given situation where Glaive was he was saying that. Magic, you need to like move out of pit right now. Like you need to do something. Like you need to get the information or something. And Magic was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And then Clay was just replying to him, okay, well then we're gonna fucking lose. So and then he was like, shut up. And then we actually ended up winning the game. And then we were talking about it afterwards, and it was just everyone was just laughing about it. It sometimes it could just be part of that thing, And obviously it's worse if you lose. That is why things start getting out of control. But it was a hilarious one, something that we've laughed a lot about afterwards, that people could, But people just want to win. That's just how it is.
It's the competition, right? It's the heat of the moment, right?
Exactly.
That can come out from time to time.
I mean, the adrenaline, of course. I mean, even if you kind of listen back to the clip that was played from NAVI, it almost kind of took everybody else off guard that like Aleksib reacted in this way in that moment. So like it obviously wasn't something that they're used to. Like that is just like happening on a daily basis. Because it actually had an impact in that moment. So I think it's fine. I mean, it's like this stuff happens.
All right, let's jump into G2 conversation. This is Prof's favorite team. He loves talking about G2. You can't get enough of talking about G2. Prof, you've seen how they made it. It was all the way down to the final day. It was some shaky moments against a very ill Gamer Legion. Rez even masking up for the match. Are G2 convincing you that they have what it takes to lift the trophy?
No, unfortunately. I think actually the general consensus and as I always said, I feel like they needed like one more change to this lineup to make it a tournament winning lineup. I don't think this team has it, and at the same time, I understand now more than at the beginning why keeping Hunter made sense, because the whole idea about their CT sides, mobs coming in for Nico, taking over the roles and taking over the responsibility, and then being like, hey, I actually can't take over all of these roles at the tier 1 level and also mid-round call all of the CT sides at the same time because I don't have that experience. And then giving that responsibility to Hunter kind of makes sense. He is a guy that has been around for forever at tier 1 level, right? And has I think he understands the game quite well because of the way he plays it. He needs to be very he needs to read the game well to do what he does, right? So that makes sense. But then when you add all the pieces together, there seems to be lacking either more firepower or more experience. One of these two things. And I think the experience can come with time, but do they have time? Then we just have we're kind of wherever you look, there's something missing, and I don't see them really fixing it fully this year. I feel like wherever we go, there's something there's going to be missing with G2.
And this is where it gets blurry, because I think, if they had a long leash and we knew that this was going to be the 5 for a period of time, they would have more time to build out the playbook or the understanding how everyone's going to function, or Malbs can get more experience within these positions. You could see in the game yesterday, it felt like players like m0NESY were trying to take on more. The conversation was clearly, hey boys, we need to bring a certain level of excitement and hype, right? Because you were seeing a lot more out of them. That intensity, if that's lacking and it just feels like another day at prac, then in a competitive matchup, things can get away pretty quickly. But this is where it kind of bleeds into the Falcons conversation about m0NESY, because if the team is because I don't know any details about that, if that's even a realistic thing. But if it is a realistic thing of some variety, and m0NESY could be going once we get into the tournament break in the middle of the year, then they're just going to be treading water. And I know last year they were very professional in the sense of, it was going to be, when we spoke to Malbs just last week, it was, we knew once we knew he was leaving, we still practice heaps and, we're focusing on winning the major and everything like that. It didn't get in the way. But losing somebody like m0NESY, and then you just lost Nico, and now the team is not itself anymore, I feel like that's going to have some dramatic impact. So I don't know. I guess I'm going very broad with this. So let's try and focus in a little bit closer to what we're seeing. Peter, what do you feel like when you see G2 in the server? What do you think's going wrong at the moment?
They're definitely not title contenders. I tried to come up with a wording yesterday about all these teams that I feel like seems to be lacking one replacement, maybe 2. I came up with limbo, so now I'm going to be calling them limbo teams. It's for me, it seems like a lot of teams. For me, a team like Furia, maybe a team like G2. I had another one on my mind. Well, Falcons for that matter as well. It seems to be a little bit of in a limbo where they are playing good at times, but then they still seem to be lacking that extra thing where they can take them over the hump on if their star players are not performing. I think that when I'm looking at G2, and if you would remove, obviously Nico has been removed, but if you would also remove m0NESY from the equation, then they would be in very deep waters in terms of where do they go now. Sure, you can get other players, but you also need to replace probably 2 of the best players that's come out of the scene for the last, obviously Nico has been around for a long time, but m0NESY's rise has obviously been very spectacular. So they were the bread and butter of G2, let's just be honest. They were the ones carrying over the finish line for a long time, whereas the rest of the guys maybe I shouldn't leave out Malps too much. He's also been pretty good. But at least like that core of players was destined, in my opinion, to be doing really good. So obviously it was kind of a hard hit for G2 not having Nico anymore. One thing is his firepower. Second is also his like how vocal he is and how he controls. At least that's what you hear, that he controls the C sides a lot more. And when you hear like a small dips from the Falcons communication, you can also hear that he's the one that is trying to, he has a lot of overview. Like he seems to be understanding the game in just like I mentioned before, like simple, like these players have this sixth sense of how to approach the rounds when it's also heating up. And that is very important. So yeah, sure, G2 is, if they are going to lose Monesi in this summer break, which some people predict, I'm not sure if that's going to happen or where he's going to go. That's also the big question. I think G2 will find themselves in some pretty deep water. And if his Monesi is going to go to Falcons, then obviously they're going to have like a really strong team. If they're going to make more changes, I'm not sure. But it is like a lot of these teams just seems to be lacking this extra thing where I get so baffled sometimes, because you look at the names, and that is also where Counter-Strike is right now. Like there's so many names, including myself. Like if you look at that name and you'd be like, yeah, this guy has won 5 majors. This guy's been playing like in the top 10 for like the last I don't know how many years. Then people have this expectation that this guy's just gonna be like fucking good at the game, like, or he's just gonna bring like whatever this team needs. And then when I look at a team like Furia, you see like the likes of Fallen, Kisarado, Yuri, who's been around for like so long, and then spicing it up with the talents of TYLLO and Skulls. For me, it's just sometimes it just seems like a lot of teams are afraid of making that necessary decision of actually cutting some of the bigger names. Because it is just a fact that the talent is just rising in Counter-Strike now. The more hours you put in right now, the more like the better you'll be. And you also need to remember that the spark of never have been competing in a tier 1 tournament or winning one, or at least just trying to make it into the top, it's something that you cannot, there's no way, and people are fucking lying if they are saying that a guy that has been playing the game for 20 years or 15 years, how many years, that he has the same spark as he did when he was 16 years old when he joined his first team. That is a bullshit. So, and that is sometimes what you need in a team to take you over that hump. And I think that is what a lot of teams are sometimes trying, but also some teams are afraid of doing. That's just like spilling the beans. That's like my honest opinion, man. And I even brought myself down the drain.
Well, their synopsis of things on the couch to their issues was they're making a lot of mistakes in number advantage situations, which is classically G2, like losing a 5v2 pistol round that looked unlosable on Inferno, right? Like it's like, at least they're still bringing
against JL.
Yes, that was nightmare mode as well, but they're still bringing the entertainment in that sense. And I think that the caliber of the player across the board, for the most part, can be very strong. The issue that team has is they're under the microscope with the whole snack situation. Right, so and because Shui's on the market, they're always going to be copying flack there, and then that other element we discussed with the Monesi potentially going, and I don't really know. I'm just kind of saying what other people have said, so I wish I had some more information there. But yeah, Monesi's still playing very, very well, top 3 highest rated player in the tournament right now, alongside of Donk and Zywoo. So the 3 players from last year who were delivering still appear to be doing so.
T-side, by the way.
In general,
no, now at this tournament.
Oh, is it? He's
170. He's 175.
Bloody hell.
Ooh la la.
Well, yesterday that round he had a hero AK on Nuke and he just kills 4 people. It's like, yeah, fair enough. What are you really going to do about that? Nothing.
But it was like, I don't know, like it's just, it now feels a little bit like he did about a year ago. I was looking, I mean, I'm kind of basing this off of the Mongol series, especially because the other ones, they were actually pretty convincing in the 3 wins that they got, right? But that was against like Pain, Gamer Legion, and I don't remember the last team, but there was like one of those sub top 10 teams just below.
Soul? Was it Soul?
Right, I think so, yeah. And then the Mongols came and Monesi was doing super well, but then at some point you saw him go for all of these opening duels, right? Like things that generally on a Dust 2 you will not see oppers do anymore, like to go for head-to-head.
Big mids with the op. Yeah,
exactly, like big mid into the other op and stuff. And 910 was actually punishing him for that because it felt like he was putting too much pressure on himself to make all the plays, even though they were in such a good position on that map. Obviously ended up throwing it from 11-2 or whatever it was at some point, kind of as a result of him, going like 20 kills in the first half and then just like overcommitting to all these duels all over and over and again. Maybe because he feels like he's now the guy who has to make all these moves, That's what it felt like a year ago when Nico was still kind of coming to grips with CS2. He wasn't quite at the same level. And you saw Monesi was like, he was putting a lot of pressure on himself to make all the plays, to go for the repeaks, to basically have all the impact. So I wonder if that's kind of the same mentality that he's employing now where he obviously has the level, but then it will also come with those over peaks, the situations where he's putting too much, like he's trying too much, he's trying to overcompensate and it's not really working out. So like that consistency is maybe kind of causing trouble as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's keep jumping forward, shall we? Let's go into the Falcons conversation. So, not making the playoffs after being in the grand final of Cluj, obviously a completely different looking field when you compare Cluj to what we have going on at EPL in terms of the big names, the Vitality, NAVI, Spirit. They're the main ones. G2 can come into that conversation too, I suppose. Just to give people an account of Falcons' run, they opened up with a 2-1 win over Liquid. They lost to Mouse, they lost to 3D Max, they beat Furia, and then they lost to Eternal Fire. So Eternal Fire are a team who are higher up in the rankings than they are. That's a tough last round draw that they had. The game that probably really cost them there was the 3D Max loss. Because like Mouse, yeah, fair enough. So with this Falcons roster that we see, gentlemen, the question being, is this what you expected from them? Is this on par? Is this them failing? What's the takeaway?
Well, obviously the whole running Cluj was really good for them. I think no one really expected that one. I guess also I think they beat FaZe in the semifinal. I think there was I think it was really good for the team to get some success in some sense, right? Mentally, but also just like for the team as a whole. And then obviously going to EPL and then going out in groups in the last game against Eternal Fire, which was also a close one. Yeah, sure, they probably didn't play as good in at EPL than they did in Cluj. But I still think that they are, they're still trying to figure out how they want to approach the game. And the biggest take that I have seen so far from when they're playing is that if Nico is not like popping off in the way that people maybe want him to do, then I think they are simply just not. It sounds hard to say that they're not good enough, but they are definitely lacking a little bit of firepower. Like he is such an important asset to that team. Also, like if he's just feeling the way, like if he's not feeling the game that he's supposed to feel like when like he does maybe 85% of the time, then they are definitely a worse looking team than obviously if he was playing well. That's kind of obvious.
That was evident in the EF game though. He wasn't himself.
Same thing in the Mouse one.
Yeah, he wasn't delivering. So it's backing up exactly what you're saying.
Exactly, but you also gotta if you turn it around, must also in some sense it must be difficult to be Nico to be put in that position where he knows that maybe if he doesn't put up the numbers that he's expected to, then there's a big chance they might lose, and there's nothing to take away from the rest of the players, obviously. But he needs just more help from the team. Like I think they have like the tactical approach to the game is not bad. Not like they have some. I like what Kixon is doing, and he seems to be a guy that understands the game in many ways, and he's good at switching up the speed of the round. Sometimes he goes slow, sometimes he goes fast, and he makes these calls that are. I've heard multiple times Danny go out and say that he made a great call, and I've agreed to the point that switching up the pace and everything, like he understands the fundamentals of being an England leader. And I think whenever they get advantages, at least like early in the rounds, they're good at converting them. But sometimes it's just like they maybe are overestimating their enemies a little bit too much, or maybe thinking too much about what to do, not to do things. They don't want to mess up, like they've done it so many times, unfortunately, that they are getting afraid of maybe making that right decision. Yeah, I think that's like my take. And yeah, they might have gone out in groups here. I don't even know. Their next one is going to be Lisbon, right? Like the one in Copenhagen. I think is the next one for them. And from working with the guys for a long time, all the way back as well, sure is a disappointment, but in a couple of days they're gonna start practicing it and it's forgotten, and then they're gonna go back and evaluate like what did we do good, what did we do right. Like we need to figure out things, and I'm fairly certain that them going out a little bit early in this tournament is gonna benefit them in the longer run, if that makes sense. Because they also have a quite busy traveling schedule. I think they're participating in like pretty much everything they can.
Yeah.
And that's also gonna hurt a team, especially a new team. So in some sense, the time that they get off here. I'm pretty sure that the reason why they didn't do as good in EPL was also because they made a good run in Cluj. They didn't have time to go home and actually fix those kind of things that they wanted to fix, and then they kind of got converted into the EPL, where some teams maybe had more time to prepare and all these kind of things. And then maybe all their expectations was also like, okay, we just made a grand final in Cluj. Let's make playoffs here. Like it's very easy to get to a point where you want it too much, if that makes sense.
You're a good man to ask this question to, Peter. With the roster coming together like this, because it's a brand new year, we're just back. It's like post-pandemic, so we're 2019 and before type situation. But when you look at a team who's come together and it's completely new, obviously they have the heroic core, but you have two big players of Magisk and Nico that you're trying to merge into this project with the new coach. How long would you say it should take a team for us to see the full scope of their potential or ability?
I think it depends a lot on the players, how people click, and the most important thing for me is always if you have role clashes in the team. And from the likes of what I know, that how the players function in the team, I don't think there's a big role clash at all. I think there was a small saying in that sometimes Tessus wanted to go first, but Nico wanted to go first. Is Nico supposed to be the main entry fragger, or is it actually Tessus? Like, who's gonna go in first and second? I think that's like the only small thing that I heard could be a little bit of, I wouldn't say an issue, but something that they need to debate maybe. Because we also had that back with Saiwu. Like, I remember the Saiwu wanted to go first all the time. Like, all the time he wanted to go first, but Sonic had to tell him, like, you cannot go first all the time because we need you to close out the rounds as well. So sometimes I'm not sure if that could be a small thing, but I think I've always said like half a year. A half a year is usually like the margin where you need to go to before you can see like the true potential. But then obviously if you have the right mentality and everyone is on the same page and things are clicking, I think you could see that in 4 months. It could start sparking in 4 months.
Okay.
So I think that they still have some time to build.
Good lead into the major, really.
Sure. It could be a good way to peak. I know that is what all teams want to achieve. They want to be peaking at the major. That kind of makes sense, right? But major is also in a league on your own. But for that matter, yeah, sure, it would be very beneficial for them if they could hit that peak form at the major.
I think that's what there's form to be found from Dexter. I think that's the biggest question mark at the moment.
Tessa's had a tough event too.
I mean, that's for sure, but this is not the guy you're going to expect to put up the big numbers consistently because of his roles. Like, he's going to be the guy as dupreeh was saying, like, a lot of the time he's going to be the guy coming in first. And we never have known Tessas to be the guy that you rely on for the big numbers. When he does put them up, Heroic used to win. That obviously was a big factor, like in those big wins sometimes, because he just had like occasional peaks, that will actually get them over the line, but it's not something that they ever relied on. And I think Falcons isn't that either. And so Dexter is also very inconsistent. And like, for you to have any sort of reliability in your team, right, in your stars, it cannot just be Nico. It has to be Dexter as well, because who else do you go to, right? Like Magisk, same thing. You're not going to expect him to put up all the big numbers. Same thing with Kixan. So it's got to be down to those two. And then if Nico isn't in the Cluj form where he was just destroying everybody, then what we saw at EPL is going to happen, because Nico had a couple of off games and they just got destroyed in those games because there was nobody to pick up the slack. So the depth is definitely a problem on Falcons, and that's always going to be exploited if Nico isn't there and then like putting up these massive performances.
I mean, I'll just quickly say Nico wouldn't get the MVP in Cluj if Tessus and Dexter didn't have some of the maps that they had.
Right, yeah.
Because they this is essentially what was lacking in EPL. Like, as we kind of are going in circles here, the maps where Nico wasn't playing very well, it was kind of a blowout.
Kixan played well yesterday, but as an in-game leader, you can only do so much.
Yeah, so that's just the thing. Like, it was what was missing this time around for Falcons. So in conclusion, I think it's not the worst result. Yeah. It's not the worst result when you look at the field, but I think when you look at who they lost to, like 3D Max, Eternal Fire,
good.
I feel like both of these teams, they want to be winning against. They want to be winning against them. I'm not saying it's like a huge upset.
Better than them.
I don't think it's a huge upset, but I think in their minds they think they're better than these teams, and they want to like perform better than these teams. This is how I see Falcons and like where they are as an organ with a player like Nico. I think they want to do consistently good against this type, but final placing not too bad, and another tournament coming up, and major seems to be coming their way, so not too scary right now. It's I mean, they secured their place at the major effectively with Cluj. I mean, the pressure is kind of off of them because of that one big result, because they will get invited to at least stage 2, if not stage 3, if they stay on top 6, right? It is, and I think they might even stay there. So it's possible they will even get straight to stage 3. So, nice. And even if they don't, I mean, starting stage 2 is not
too bad of a thing, especially for a team that doesn't have so much depth. You have a little bit of time in the tournament to grow and all that stuff. So I think pressure is off. That's probably the biggest thing that they have at the moment. And so Lisbon and whatever they have after that. I don't know if they said yes. Actually, they said yes to a lot of things. Bucharest, Melbourne, Dallas before the major. Damn,
but they have so much.
That is a lot. So they have that is like a week between until Bucharest, like now a week until Lisbon, then a week between that and Bucharest, a week between that and Melbourne. A bit of a gap to Dallas after that. So at least like in the big run up to the major, they have a couple of weeks, and then after Dallas, they will have a couple of weeks before, because they will get straight to stage 3. So hopefully they chose their schedule well. I understand why they said yes to everything, because if you don't, then you maybe are going to put yourself in a position where you don't get invited, like reps in the second half of the season.
They'll get plenty of reps.
At least they're going to get that.
All right, boys, we're going to jump into the next bit of topic here, which is nice because we did a what are the odds Falcons wouldn't make roster changes by, it's Falcons roster changes for the start of the next season. So that'll be interesting to see how that one kind of progresses. But we are going to get into what are the odds TYLLO qualify for the major. So one of the teams at EPL who surprised in stage 1 and then in stage 2 still put up a decent competitive amount of results was TYLLO. Sure, they ended up going 0-3, but they had pretty tough opponents up until their 0-2 game against Gamer Legion, but you'd expect Gamer Legion to have their number. So a 0-2 loss to Spirit. They took a map off of NAVI. That was a decent series from them, a good showing. G's everyone's new favorite player, and then they lost to Gamer Legion 2-0, and then they were eliminated. So
a lot of close games, though, like really surprising.
Now, the problem is they're going to have to play in the MRQ, which is going to be online, and we're going to have to wait and see how the points shake out. But I don't know if one of these teams is going to be overtaking FlyQuest to take away that second slot.
Rare Atom is 15 points away at this point.
Okay, and Rare Atom is playing soon, right? What are they playing in?
I know they went to their Bucharest. That doesn't count.
It doesn't count then. So we'll see how much it shifts with Decay and everything like that in the lead up to the April 7th date. But that's the thing. You also bring up another name that can contest this spot within China. We obviously have TYLLO, we have Linvision, and we have Rare Atom. I don't know how the scissor paper rock of that situation really unfolds locally. But if you can get the same level out of your Jam Youngs, your Mosaic, and your Gs, actually G did have some really good performances. I like watching these guys play. They're good individually. I think I was high on TYLLO a while ago. That's when Starry was on the team. And then Starry, I guess he didn't get along with them. And then Jam Young was going to go to fucking Valorant. Then he's come back. And so I guess all they have to do is beat those names to qualify for the major. And at the moment, they're the flavor of the month as far as China's concerned. So...
yeah, but then the next Chinese team comes and then they're the flavor of the month because they're actually been doing pretty all right as the last couple of tournaments. So it feels like it is so fucking random. I have no idea, man. It's going to be such a
coin toss situation, isn't it?
I mean, just to kind of touch on what you were mentioning, but maybe people that don't follow super in depth. Essentially, the team, the Mongols will go directly to the major.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're looking at the team. Because there's 4 slots for Asia and 1 sub-region will get 2 slots. As it is right now, that would be Australia because FlyQuest is the highest ranked. But Rare Atom is 15 points behind them. So if this shifts in the next...
it could because Rare Atom actually have the ECL. So they might... never mind. That's not going to finish.
Let's say this shifts in the next 2 weeks. Rare Atom overtake FlyQuest. That means China would get 2 spots instead of just 1 spot, which makes it much easier for TYLLO to qualify for the major than if they have to beat Linvision, Rare Atom, and whoever else is there, right? So that's kind of a question mark. We don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like it would because their LAN result is recent. Rare Atom beating winning the Mesa LAN in Mongolia, which was a qualifier for Bucharest.
When does Atlanta decay for FlyQuest? When did they win Atlanta last year?
It was like December. No,
it wasn't that late in the year, was it?
I think October? It was like late November. Really?
October 4th to 6th.
Okay.
I can't do the quick maths.
But that's effectively going to
have gone.
But that's 6 months, right? So that's and April 7th. April 7th is going to be the update that it's going to be based on. So yeah, it will be actually exactly gone.
So
it seems like China would get 2 spots, which if we're just talking about the quality of the players and the teams there,
that makes sense.
Would make more sense. All in all, would be like better for the quality of the major. So let's say they need to get 1 out of 2 spots. I feel like they have a pretty good chance. You can only do 99.
Yeah, I'm
99%.
Going 99%.
I'm giving it 73% over here that TYLLO qualify for the major. But
I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it 60 because 66 would be 2 out of 3, which is the 3 big teams. But there's a world where it's somebody else just like does a random upset. So I'll give it 60.
I'm gonna go 90. I think there's a possibility. I mean, now I know back in the days it was always the whole idea about like, you know, what you would laugh a little bit off the Asian teams and that they were getting spots and everything. But I actually think that the Asian scene has gotten a lot better, and I think the Asians has a pretty cool like mentality when it comes to the game. And I think the mentality is very important when it comes to majors. I think a lot of people come into the major being a lot like, you know, they are afraid of failure. Where I feel like the Chinese are. They just show up, you know, and they play their best game they possibly can. Sometimes it's not good enough, but they go in with their mindset. They don't look afraid. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's what I like. I think that's actually going to be super key.
Yeah.
And they just had, I mean, yeah, sure, they didn't go far in this tournament, but, you know, they had some decent results. You know, you also started seeing that with the Mongols. Yeah, the Mongols were also a team that you'd maybe not been considering a good team back in the days. Now they are like a top 8 team in the world. You know, they are playing great. You know, it's a team that people are actually looking out for. Why wouldn't it happen to TYLLO?
Yeah. Well, and I think if they do end up getting 2 spots, then that's why I've gone such a high percentage. Like if there's 2 spots available in Asia, then I feel like TYLLO should definitely be grabbing one of these. They'll also have the confidence from this event when they go back and play at home. Whereas Lin Vision didn't look like the same Lin Vision that we had in previous Pro League seasons. I know not the one with flying and a fufu, the one before that still had G on the roster. But here it is. Here's the what are the odds, brought to you by 1xBet. You guys can have your vote at home on the different social media platforms where HLTV finds itself. That's going to be Instagram as well as X. You guys get to vote. So this time, if you go with no, you guys could be taking home a pretty penny and put it in the pool of money, and we'll give you away some lovely little prizes. Lucas, do we need to run an ad break? Let's run an ad break right now. We'll come back and we'll get into the playoffs preview and then get into the recent news.
The world is changing quickly. Shoot it.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CS:GO through the lens.
All right, we're back from the break. Thank you for sticking with us. Thanks to our lovely sponsors. We're going to get into the playoffs for EPL. We're kicking off tomorrow. We're going to have 2 quarterfinals on Friday, two semifinals on Saturday, and a grand final on Sunday. Single elimination bracket, best of 3s until a best of 5 grand final. Maybe we can bring this one up, Lucas. I'll link it in PS. We can bring this up. And let's just go over our thoughts about this and see who we think is going to take home the trophy for ESL in its 21st bloody season. Okay. So the quarterfinals that we're going to be getting tomorrow are going to be Mouse versus G2 and Eternal Fire versus Spirit. Mouse versus G2 being the second game and Eternal Fire versus Spirit being the opening matchup. Right here, right now, I guess like Spirit are one of the tournament favorites going up against EF, who to their own admission, are pretty depleted, right? And understandably so. They've been going deep in every single tournament. This is the 4th tournament of the year for them, the 4th time that they have made it into the playoffs. They're playing some great Counter-Strike, but you're starting to see holes in their map pool. It's hard because they can't practice to be able to add a lot of new things. But there is one thing that I will say, and it's I love watching Wakadia and Jota when the chips seem like they're down. Like Zentara is maybe not delivering in the same capacity as what we would be hoping for, but these two new younger guys, I know Wakadia has been there longer than Jota. Mechanically, they frag out hard. And then second of all, in matches where I feel like they're struggling, these kids are stepping up and delivering some good energy and also good kills in the service. So I think I've got Spirit as the favorite there, but I just wanted to say some positive stuff about EF because I'm still liking the fact that they're bringing it. Anybody have strong feelings about this series going one way or another? These two teams have already played in a grand final this year, being Blast Bounty.
I like what you said there. I think like in terms of the two newer players, younger players, we can't have Zentaris being like the only guy on this lineup forever, right? To deliver consistently. And we did already see some games where he's not, he's having an off game.
Yeah.
Like there, maybe the other team is super focusing. Maybe he's just unlucky. The combination of these two, he has like a bad game. They definitely need other people to pick up the slack, and there is hope over time that this, the passing of the torch will happen, so I think that's a good thing. Will it happen in this? Like I really find it hard to find an angle for EF or Spirit right now, considering like how easy breezy it was for Spirit in the group stage. Donk again is like in insane form, like in the group stage. The playoffs is the group stage, so I guess that's the only positive side for EF, that they have shown some like weaknesses on the stages, which this tournament doesn't have. So there are some chances, but overall not getting too excited for the Turkish chances right here.
I would just say that maybe because Spirit didn't really face any of the big teams in the groups, maybe they haven't really gotten tested this month too much. Obviously, basing on the entire year, they effectively lost only two series to NAVI. So that's like that probably fills you with a lot of confidence if you're Spirit, if you only losing to one other team so far this whole year. So, well, one to Vitality.
I think that there is the case where I still think Spirit will win, but I think there's a case where it can go 2-1. If Eternal Fire is allowed to bring Anubis to the map pool, I think there's a case where it can go 2-1. Just thinking of what I know that Dunk has said, that he doesn't like Anubis, and I think it's a bad map. It's one of those maps where Anubis is just one of those maps where you, as a worse team on paper, can win off by just kind of abusing the map layout or playing in a way where if your opponents don't know how to approach it, then I think it's that there's a case. And I know that Eternal Fire knows how to play Anubis. So for that matter, I think there's a case that can go 2-1. And I think I've seen that multiple times. I also think it was Vitality playing against MIBR in the first round of EPL, where MIBR was winning the first one. And I was like, how the hell did they win the first map? I was like, yeah, okay, it was Anubis, that's why. And then they got blown out on the last two. So I think there's a case where that can happen, but I still think the Spirit will win 2-1.
My only thing, like, it's kind of like the EF situation right now. I feel like their Anubis is going down, and they lost it a few times. I was just going back, like, it was in my head, but I'm like, okay, let's see.
I haven't always been picking it either.
Yeah, so now they lost to 3D Max. They lost to TYLLO. It was 13-11 against Mind Freak. Then some close games. Like I in my head, they are like the Anubis team, but I don't know if like it's kind of catching up on them or other teams are catching up on them because they haven't had time to add to it and have become maybe a bit too readable for the other teams.
There's nowhere else they can really go in the veto though, unless they go to Train, right? And they could go to Train because Train's still quite new. I know that Spirit have 100% win rate on it, but they only played it 3 times.
Didn't that kind of fail for them against Falcons, right? In Cluj, they went for Train, and
they also went against Train against Liquid, who left it open, which makes sense. It's more of a punish there. But I think the thing is, you had EF were a 3-1 team, right? No, wait,
3-2.
They're a 3-2 team. So today's their only day off, and they play first game tomorrow. So they only have today to add new things. So you know what your pick's going to be 100%. You know what they're going to ban. They're getting rid of Inferno. You're getting rid of Ancient. So whichever it is, Train or Anubis, that can be the only places they can really go in this veto.
Oh, yeah.
And whichever one you don't pick, you don't get a chance at it being the third. So put all your effort and energy into just winning that, and then hope for the best on the next, right?
Yeah, but it's one of those cases where if they don't win their map pick being presumably Train or Anubis, then they're gonna lose 2-0.
Yeah.
That's at least my take, right? But then, sure, Spirit has a 100% win rate by their own big 3 maps on Train, and Train is still so new. And, if you can, that's the case with Vertigo back in days. Well, if you dare to go into that map and picking and then maybe having something up your sleeve or some really good counter strat, then yeah, you can win. But I still think that 100%, just a number, scares you a little bit. And also the fact that if it's, sure, maybe Eternal Fire has lost some maneuvers, but they still know how to play the map like fundamentally. Spirit might also do that, obviously. But then we've always had this philosophy around that when you're gonna go play against a team, like, do you want to play on your strength or you want to play on their weaknesses? Where do you want to go, especially when you are the underdog? Maybe you want to.
What would you do in this situation versus a team like Spirit?
I mean, I would probably have to wager my decision in how things has been going in practice, because maybe you actually have been playing pretty well in practice, but maybe you've been lucky in official games or whatever it could be. Or did you ask me what if I was Spirit or Eternal Fire?
If you're Eternal Fire,
right? That would be a case if things were going. If we were confident in the team that we could play Train, then yeah, you could probably do some heavy anti-strat on Train, and then maybe if you were playing good, you could win it. But as being an underdog, yes, that would be a case, but I still think I would go for the Anubis one. Honestly, I would still go for that one. It's one of the maps they play the most. It's a map that they know their opponents don't like, and it's a map where they can manipulate because the map is just has in general poor map design, and it's just it makes it. They can isolate things a lot more compared to what they can do in Train, in my opinion. So I think Anubis would be the wise pick for Eternal Fire, but obviously I'm not Turkish.
It's also hard to play Train into with the idea of anti-strat when you have so little to go off of.
That's what
they
I mean.
played one map in the last month on it. So how much did they really show in that game against Saw? That you can actually base your entire game plan off of. Going into a playoff series. That is obviously it from a position of an underdog. That is obviously a strategy, but it is It is very risky to try to do that.
So we're all going with Spirit to win that series. Okay, let's take a look at the same side of the bracket, Mouse versus G2. These two teams haven't played before. The last time they played, and this is obviously not with Spinx in the roster, was back in Cologne, and Mouse toppled them there 2-0. G2 have had some worries. Mouse have the win in Cluj, there's some confidence. What do we think of this series, gentlemen? Any strong indicators in this one?
I think Mouse is going to win.
Easily?
Not easily, but it's always tough, because if Manasi plays well and Malp plays well, then I think there's a case where G2 can win, but it requires both of them to pop off. I still think that Mouse Sports has been playing so well since adding Spinx, and also they're still living high on the whole idea that they won Cluj, and they're feeling comfortable around going in for another players run, and then they probably feel pretty happy about getting G2 in the quarterfinals with how G2 is looking. It would be different if they still had Nico, and just looking at the maps, not like they both seems to have not played that much Train and Anubis. It seems to be one of Mouse Sports' perm ban as well. It's the veto is going to be interesting. I think both teams like to play the same maps. So for that matter, I still think it's going to be 2-0 for Mouse Sports. I honestly think that Mouse is living too high on having a good run, and G2 are still struggling to find their consistency and trying to figure out how to move forward. I honestly think so. I think there's too many things that they still need to work on. It sounds weird saying that G2 should be like a contender winning a quarterfinal, but that's just with the case right now, I think.
I think when you look at the two teams, both only made one roster change, and one is an in-game leader, but the one that has made the in-game leader change feels less hampered by their change than right, which is crazy. You'd never think that would be the case, but
also one of the teams changed Nico.
Yes, it's such a poor player, right?
I agree. I'm thinking Mouse, and I'll just put this question: which good team did G2 beat this year since they replaced Nico?
Jesus,
I can tell you the answer. Not a single one.
Okay, well there you go.
Falcons 2-1.
Borderline, right?
I mean,
they haven't beat anyone impressive. They haven't. It's bait, big, bet, boom. These are the 3 wins. Lost to Eternal Fire, lost to Virtus Pro, lost to FaZe, beat Falcons, beat Pain, lost to Mongols, beat Saw, lost to Navi handily, and beat Gamer Legion.
they didn't beat any a super duper team by going to the playoffs either. So yeah, I get the point. I
think, but it's not that different for Mouse. Obviously, they were more on the top side. They played a lot of teams around the top 10, but every time they faced one of the teams that are deeper, like one of the top 5, they also lost. So it's like, it feels like they're both kind of still struggling, mainly against a better opposition, right? And it's more about, yeah, I don't know. I think it's neither of them go into this with a lot of confidence, I think.
I just think like
honest.
Mouths played a lot more, like just because they went to Cluj, so they have like a lot more games, even if it's against like lower opposition, that they've shown like some stability, which I haven't seen in G2. Like they played very few games in total, right?
I think Mouths is fair. So we've got Spirit beating EF, Mouths beating G2. Okay, so that's our semi-final. Back to the other side of the bracket. First one on the Friday, I believe, is the Vitality versus Liquid game. Is there anybody here who feels convinced by anything that Liquid have shown that they could potentially beat Vitality?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
To be honest.
No, that's fair.
No.
They're like gatekeeping at the moment. You know, they're pretty good. It was kind of the same last year, but they're pretty good at beating all the teams that are like around the top 10 to 15.
Well,
But then they struggle every time they play against anybody better.
Yeah, that was the team that I was missing in my limbo equation.
Right. Okay.
Liquid,
Yeah,
right?
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like a team where they actually have good players, like on paper, and a team that is they obviously have some role clashes, but there's definitely something that need to do before they actually unlock like their potential. So I think that's where they are right now. You know, they can beat the teams that are lower than themselves, but whenever they go up against like a greater opposition, they will lose.
Yeah, I mean, so
Both
far
of the
the best team they beat in the
wasn't
last
it?
couple of months was EF exactly here. That was pretty close anyway. I mean, before that they beat Mouse, but that was like when they were playing with a stand-in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really count. So
Liquid could
it's
try and
not.
cheese their way to a win, though, right? Like, I feel that they could pick into Anubis, which we know Vitality also not a massive fan of, right? If
They
wanted
really feel good on Anubis too. Like they're constantly talking about how they're the best team in the world on it. You know, so I wonder if they pick it into Vitality that lose. How are we going to feel about that statement after that?
Probably not great,
Yeah.
but I feel that's their best case,
For
right?
sure.
That's their best
Exactly.
chance.
I definitely agree with this one as well. Like that's 100% going to be the case. 100%.
That must be. It's gotta be an Anubis pick. Yeah.
I will eat something disgusting if they don't pick Anubis.
But also, they brought out Train against EF, which means that they could try and remove one of the stronger maps or whatever they think would be weakest against Vitality. And then Vitality have the option of, well, do we try and punish with Train even though they've only played it once, or do we just pick into another map where we have a strength, right? Like, what are you going to ban?
No, Vitality just don't really have a home map at the moment. Like they don't really play anything more. I mean, if you look at their history, like they have everywhere they have like 5-4, 5-4, 3-0-4 maps. You know, like they don't really go anywhere more often than anything else. And they were pretty good at everything other than Anubis, right? So
then I feel it's Liquid removing what they feel is their biggest weakness that isn't Train, right? So they can have Anubis, and then Vitality probably don't pick Train. They pick into something else like a Dust 2 or Inferno, whatever Liquid doesn't remove, or Nuke as well. Apex likes calling on Nuke a lot. So I think, you know, you could try and cheese the veto if you're Liquid, but I still think you probably end up losing that series.
Yeah.
So, okay. Another 2-1? Or no, probably a 2-0, really, if we're...
I think
Yeah.
I don't know. The Anubis one does, like, there's definitely a world where Liquid win Anubis to start it. So I think 2-1 is not out of this world for sure.
It's like the Spirit Eternal Fire one. It could with the Anubis in the play, it could be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go with the safe bet of Vitality here. Navi versus Mongols. Now, I want to throw this out there. Last time they played was in Cologne, but it was in a seeding match because both teams were already qualified for the playoffs. And Mongols, by losing that game, were able to avoid Spirit's side of the bracket. So I'm just saying, maybe it was a tactical 2-0 loss to Navi. No takers. No one's biting.
No
takers. The Mongols, same kind of deal. Like they never really play well into the top teams.
But look, this has to be. We've seen the turmoil in Navi, guys. They're infighting. 9-10. He's fucking sick on the AWP. Senzu's going to finally break through and have good form in the playoffs.
I think
this is like, honestly, this is if they're not going to do it here, when are they going to do it? Right? It's a playoffs, but it's not one of the biggest tournaments. It's not. There's no crowd. Might as well do something like Navi. You know. We are saying Navi are okay. They're not going to fall apart tomorrow, but they're realistically not in their best form. They're in like some of their worst form in the last like 9 months or so. So if there's a chance, the chances now. And obviously, Mongols are higher ranked on the VRS, so they are favorites based on that.
Well,
I'm giving it to Navi anyway, but I do think this could be like a competitive game. I think it's going to be a competitive game.
Is this the closest out of all of the quarterfinal matchups?
I think so, yes.
I believe so as well, yeah. I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Mongols. I think they will do it.
Okay.
Nice.
I don't know why I like the Mongols. I think they're cool. I think they're super cool.
Mazinho's my favorite with his little hair clips, man.
I like their coach so much.
Mara.
Yeah, he just stands behind them, you like looking super dead serious all the time, and he's like he reminds me of this from like a karate movie or something, where he's like the grandmaster of arts, you know, and he's just like there making sure that they play their shit correct, you know. Like I think I don't know, they're super cool. I don't know, I like them very much.
Yeah, nice.
And they're like stone cold. Even the Blitz, he just sits there, never shows anything. He's just like yeah, whatever.
The chess master.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. Yep.
All right,
That's
Peter,
also a cool story, right?
we're going to get you out of here. So what I want you to
Yeah.
do before you go is just complete the bracket for us. So you think it's going to be Navi, Vitality, Semi, or Mongols?
I still think I'm gonna go with Mongols. I think
I like it.
Mongols is gonna go up against Vitality in the top bracket of the semifinals.
Okay, so Vitality versus Mongols. I imagine you have Vitality there.
Yeah, I gotta go with my boys. You know, I'm
Spirit
still rocking
Mouse?
the chair, right? Spirit Mouse, Spirit.
Okay.
No doubt. No doubt.
Vitality Spirit final.
We're gonna have a rematch of the Cologne one. Sakatovic, sorry, not
Yeah.
Cologne.
I'm looking at Lucas like struggling so hard. I'm not sure what she's
He
struggling.
can
with.
select him. Lucas,
You can't
have you
say
been-
that.
Oh, maybe he's not logged in. Either way, it doesn't matter.
All right. For the grand final, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a banger, but I feel like Spirit might have learned a lesson. They might have learned something. It's gonna go all 5 maps, and it's gonna be 3-2 for Spirit.
Oh, okay. Official prediction on the record.
Yep.
Well, sir, we're going to let you go and keep the show going. Thank you very much for your time.
You are very welcome, boys.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope everything goes well with the newborn.
Hopefully.
And yeah, if you do some analyst work or whatnot, we'll see you around the traps and hopefully get you back on another episode of HLTV Confirmed to hear you break down the Counter-Strike.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
Peter.
on, man.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Cheers.
All right. Well, we had Peter come and do the fun stuff, and now we'll do the boring stuff. So let's get into, well, we won't get into the super boring stuff straight away. We'll get into something that is near and dear to my heart. Seeding.
Seeding,
I love seeding.
ranking,
Yeah, we all like seedings and rankings and formats. They're my
and
favorite things.
formats. I chatted with Yanko a bit in the studio. We caught up. We had a heart-to-heart 10-minute talking about Chad's obsession with ranking. And not ranking, but formats, of course, and how it's destroying both of our podcasts at the same time. So it was a good little chat. I think we both got something, off of our chests. It was nice.
Now, look, guys, it's important because it heavily impacts how tournaments work. So we're going to jump into what is our new sponsor segment, which is called Fix Your Sit, or shit, if you want to read the silent H in between the brackets right there. Anthros, the new sponsor of HLTV Confirmed. You want to get yourself one of those chairs. They're comfortable. I was with the players today doing SSD setups, and they all genuinely said how comfortable the chair is. And Naf even spoke about how it's important to have good posture. So, look, this is all what's coming to you thick, fast, and real stuff is the most important. But this week, we're going to be talking about the VRS seeding, and that is because it's something that came out a little less than a week ago, and it was to do with another one of these updates through the GitHub from Valve. And this is essentially saying that tournaments need to base their seeding on the same VRS used for the invites. Now, to get the long and the short of this, the problem with this is that some tournaments have invites which are 4 months, let's use Dallas as the prime example of this situation, before the actual event, which would mean that the seeding from taken 4 months before will be completely out of date by the time that you get yourself into the tournament that'll be going down. So
Horrible update.
it's terrible.
Not good.
Look, I think what ESL are doing right now with the team-based seedings, whereas sure, maybe people don't know the matches like we had from stage 1 to stage 2. They had to do it in the morning of the media day going into stage 2. I believe ESL had it out by about lunchtime. Maybe it was 1 o'clock. But I think that is probably the best way because we already know that the VRS is not the same level of accurate in terms of ranking as what we would look at with something like HLTV's ranking, right? We use NAVI. They're the clear outlier in that circumstance. On the VRS, they were like 9th, but by HLTV's, they were much higher up, I believe. And that creates a problem within itself. If you do what ESL have done here at Pro League, which is have the teams rank themselves, they are the ones who are going to have the best understanding of where the other teams could be. They are ranking their competitors, right? They practice against these guys. They have the better insight. They have the better knowledge to understand what a more accurate seeding should look like. And then there can't be questions about what the seeding was based off of. It won't be outdated. Look, and there's plenty of other seeding methods we could go for. It's just what Valve have said for something like this one bad. Overall bad. Striker, I want you to pretend you're Valve.
Okay.
Sell this to me. Why is this good?
Oh, man. You're giving
He's not getting paid enough to be this devil's advocate, I feel like.
The thing is, there's like, I was trying to figure out the reason why that could be the case. And the only one that I came up with was effectively laziness, which is that, so the ideal solution where that would lead to, TOs being able to use the latest VRS available, let's say, would be you put a requirement in your announcement of the additional details, which is like a year in advance of a seeding date to your tournament, like what dates you're going to seed the teams on, and then just put something in the rules which says, okay, you have to use the latest VRS available as of the seeding date. That could be still the invitation one. That could be still the same month instead of the weekly ones. Just if you want to stay consistent.
Hold on. It's important. The reason that this is pointed out for the viewer, right? The reason that you've said that is because if they don't do that, then the TO could be accused of picking a certain date to set matches the way they want to set matches, which is not what we want. We want to avoid nefarious things like that. What you're saying is you're blindly setting the date. You don't know what the ranks of those teams will be in the future, and that means it is whatever it is on that day. It's set. There's no questions. It's been set well in advance. Okay.
Yeah. So that would be the ideal solution to this problem, right? Where you always set the latest possible just before the seeding comes in, right? So, but that would create an additional requirement on the TOs, right? And then we already have tournaments that are announced ahead of time and all that stuff. Maybe they would need to do something backwards and all that. So possibly that's the reason where it's just easier to just use it uniformly in terms of one date for everything. And maybe it's also because if you use two different dates, then you end up in a situation where some teams are going to be seeded higher than let's say there are different stages, right? Some teams could be seated higher than another team that got invited ahead of them, a stage ahead of them,
Yeah.
So possibly that could be the reason, but that would happen anyway. Like you would still have teams that are then, ranked higher, start from a later stage, all that stuff. Like that could still happen regardless,
Would your solution be that date that you were talking about?
I think my solution would be for them to put a requirement on. Okay, you have to set a seeding date as well as you have to have an invitation date, that you have to have a seeding date, and then you use the latest available as of both, right? Depending on what you use that for. So I think that would have been the ideal solution.
Have you conversed with them about this?
I told them that this was this would have been my solution, and I told them the reasons why that wouldn't have been, like, their solution wasn't the best. Never got a response to that one. So
what would you suggest to the community of professional Counter-Strike players to do to potentially get this rectified, because it's them who are affected the most by this
just
change?
One thing that's important is, like, it's not in effect for a year, so
yes, they can still fix it
because of the way the rules are written. Doesn't really matter, but it's only going to be in effect for tier 1 tournaments that are announced from this point onward, essentially.
This is why. I mean, that could be, if we act now, we can fix it.
Yes, right, this is very important. Yes,
exactly. So, I mean, the best thing would be just for the players to outline their issue with this, and as elaborate of a way as possible to Valve, because that's how they like it. That's how they like their feedback. They want you to explain exactly why you think this is wrong, and potentially bring up issues that could happen as a result of the rule being wrong, or whatever solution you came up with is wrong. So the more people get in touch with them, making their feelings clear that this is the wrong solution, the more they will understand, okay, there's a potential problem that we have to address, and then they will see if that's a reasonable, there's a different solution that is more reasonable, right?
Okay.
So that's the best thing, like get in touch with them
Just
and then let them
to
know
add
your
one more
thoughts.
thing, from what I heard, they also prefer people to like individually write their thoughts and not be like, oh,
group,
we are the
yeah.
players, blah blah, and then like trying to like merge a collective.
Don't unionize, like let's just say that.
Just write as your own like basic. You don't need to have perfect English or anything. Just write it and send it over. As
I mean, there's a reason why at the majors they always kind of like talk to people individually, and then like they always try to separate the groups.
They don't want
and
the
not
group
have like a big I
keep
mean,
those managers away.
Right. In the past, they did do like a big roundtable thing with players and all that stuff, but they still had, each player like present their thoughts individually and not like all of them just like come there as one unified group, or whatever like that. So that's probably the best thing to do about it.
So here's what I will say, because I know that there are managers or, of teams, right, who might not be the players, might not be the coaches, but there are definitely people who are involved in these Counter-Strike teams who do listen to the show. So what you guys should do is go to your players and tell them this is important and tell them why it's important and say, can we enact on this, right? Can we send some emails and maybe it has to come from you guys, or can it be a Twitter DM? We'll give you the gist of what you need to say, but just make sure it comes from the players. It's more important that it comes from the players than the orgs, because Valve hate orgs. Maybe they don't hate orgs, but they definitely don't like orgs, right? You guys are just a body of people. They like the players. They care about the players. Players first.
Hashtag players first. Device, semicolon, quotation mark. Knows.
Okay. Are we happy with this? We happy with this?
Yeah, this is
someone
good.
to fix your
great.
sit?
This is great. Also, like, can you talk to the guys over there in the studio and just tell them to give me one chair that I can bring home? Like, I'm here, like I'm like
ESL.
10 minutes. I'm 10 minutes away. There's a guy from Anthros on the television.
I haven't seen him.
I saw him on the television. He was on the television, and our contact from sales is sick right now, so it's all going very slowly. And I have a very bad chair right now, so it would be amazing if I could just like pick up one from the studio. I'm just saying it right now.
You should have the contacts, right? Get your sales department on the bloody phone. I can't be your middleman.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just putting it out there. Who knows?
All right, boys, we got a couple of things we got to get over here. Prof has got a hard out, and I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten properly today, so I've had a long one. Let's blast through these next couple. So Spirit, NAVI, and G2 have signed up to go to PGL Astana. And the reason that is important is a few key points. One being a big conversation that we've been having. Striker's done some stuff, like a column on HLTV talking about this as well. Hopefully people have been keeping up to date with this. But this is regarding the essentially collective bargaining power of the big teams being used to pressure PGL into the club share, which they've now done. So people, when they saw the Bucharest teams get announced, were like, well, hold up a second. Why is NAVI not here? I saw people like, why are they letting Emma go to an event in his home country?
Not Bucharest.
No, Bucharest.
Both. I mean, both.
There's no NAVI in Bucharest.
Yeah, but I mean, the big drama was about Cluj, right? Not about Bucharest.
I mean, Bucharest doesn't have an audience, so that wouldn't really matter for
No,
him.
Exactly. It was a ridiculous sentiment from people. But the point is that over the course of Bucharest and Astana, all of the top teams, besides Vitality, which could just be a scheduling choice, right? That's another thing. And that's a big point too, guys, is the teams are going to make scheduling choices, right? They're going to make choices that are good for the org's bank account, but they're also going to make scheduling choices that's good for the team to perform at its highest. But the point is, for Astana, you're going to get Spirit there, you're going to get G2 there, you're going to get NAVI there, and those are teams. Fury are going to be there as well. So you're going to get teams who were absent previously who will be going to that event. I think it's really important for teams like Spirit and NAVI as well to go to Kazakhstan.
Virtus Pro as well are there. Same thing. Regionally very important.
So lots of positives there. Then the other key reason that it's important that this is up is because that event finishes on May the 18th and Dallas begins on May the 19th. So I don't know if you guys know anything about time travel, but we haven't invented it yet. So I don't know how this is going to work.
I looked into the flight situation, like how in the
What did
world...
I say wrong about Astana? Someone in Twitch says that.
Please, also, we'll get to the striker thing, but this is hilarious in chat. So there's a user, Yuki7WW, trying to correct how you pronounce it. I think it would be Astana, not Astana. Like the last A would be longer. That's what he's trying to say. And then there's another Yuki Nomiya, who says it's fine both ways. So 2 Yukis arguing. How many Yukis do you know? I know 2.
These are the
apparently.
only Yukis I've ever known.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Don't get upset.
I'm going to keep calling it Astana. I'm sorry. It's my accent. Fucking deal with it.
It's also English. It's hard to do it like in English.
Sorry to interrupt you, Striker. Get back on board.
No, I was saying I was looking into the flights and I saw one flight, like the quickest way it seems you can get to Dallas is if you leave so there's a Sunday matches, right? And that's both for the third place decider and the final. So top 4 teams all have to play on that Sunday, and we have how many teams from Dallas? 5 teams, I think, are overlapping with Dallas, which is G2. Wait, let me pull up.
Not Navi, not Spirit.
No, it was like MIBR, Gamer Legion, Eternal Fire.
Mongols?
Let me see. Give me 1 second. I'll just pull it up because I closed it. 25 Mongols are another one of those. Yeah. Who else?
Furia?
Yeah, MIBR. I said Furia are in both. Yeah.
I mean, for most of these teams, it's not going to be.
No,
yeah,
but
Mongols and Eternal
possibility.
Fire, which top 4. Those are the top 4 teams of the tournament, right? So or 2 out of top 5, let's say. So there's a very good chance that at least one of them will end up in that situation where they will have to travel as soon as possible. And the way they can do that is like after the final or whatever, at 2 a.m., there's a flight to Istanbul, and from Istanbul to Dallas, which lands at like 12:45 on the starting day of Dallas.
So 12:40, like in the morning,
like afternoon, afternoon.
Yeah.
So 1 p.m.ish. It lands in Dallas. So in that time, let's say at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. you can probably be at the tournament.
This is with no media day as well.
No
right?
media day. No
usually
starts, nothing.
So if the tournament starts on Monday, usually people would arrive on Saturday, media day on Sunday, SSD setup and all of these things also that you need to do.
Yeah.
Because like coming there and setting up everything from scratch, kind of So, but not all teams play on Monday, right? Some will play on.
There are like 4 teams, I think, that play on the second day, right?
Yes,
I think that's how IM go.
Yeah, yes, because they can't do all the matches.
But you also can't know in advance. You need to set the schedule right in advance of who's playing when. So you can't really like turn this around last minute.
Unless they wait.
Well, the last 2 days they could probably check like which teams we can get in time, which teams we can't. But there could be a situation where, because those 4 teams are all in the same group, both on the same side, right? That they always choose, and for both of them, or let's say 2 of them that we talked about, let's say Mongols and Eternal Fire both end up in that top 4. Worst case more, then you get yourself in a situation where it's going to be pretty much impossible to solve. Then you can put those matches, on the second day. But like there will be a chance where that team actually has to play on that Monday. Like very, very good chance, I would say, that team has to play on that Monday. I wanted to actually get in touch with ESL and ask them about this because, I mean, they are not in a great position over this. Over the fact that some teams chose both. Because that puts them under pressure, to change the schedule to accommodate those teams as much as possible. Put them as late as possible on that day if that.
Couldn't they just push the start day by 1 day? Because normally they do, isn't it? We do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we have Thursday.
There's
off?
1 day off, right? Yeah.
So couldn't they just push it and do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I don't know if that's what they want to do. Like I wanted to get in touch with somebody. I actually forgot about this because
you'd think I would have some information on this, wouldn't you? But I didn't even ask the question. So
that definitely seems very annoying.
Well, let me just say, it impacts me as well. So. Not being you got to make choices.
Sorry, Chad.
Well, yeah, you got to make choices. You can't do it all, and or you can, but you got to make compromises. So it's a little bit unfortunate. So
you mean in terms of like attending events, like as a caster?
Yeah.
But you have to wonder that they
you said no to Astana, but teams are saying yes, and you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
I didn't say no. I offered a compromise, but I haven't heard back about my compromise, which I imagine PGO will say no to. So
yeah.
I guess that you wouldn't do the whole thing would be the compromise.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm trying to make it all work, doing the best I can out here, guys, trying to keep everybody happy. Just want to go and commentate Counter-Strike. You know how it is. Okay, let's keep jumping around. More North American news. NIP and Complexity to go to Fragadelphia, which is crazy. But I think one of these things that this reinforces and saying that if you guys pay attention, which you should be, Striker's telling you all how important LAN wins are at tournaments. And Fragadelphia isn't going to have the craziest field, but it's a VRS event, so you can earn ranking points. You can go there, and as an org like NIP and Complexity, who really need those points, well, they're going to have to go and try and earn them at a small land like Fragadelphia, which is great for an event like Fragadelphia, which opens the oyster to all of these local lands. I saw, Prof, you were getting involved in some Twitter conversations about that. The VRS is good for smaller, more local lands.
I mean, you can see how it. I mean, this is a tournament that would in no world have NIP attending, right? And even if NIP currently are not performing that well, they have pretty interesting players. They have good players, realistically, have big brands. So this kind of a team coming to an event like this will increase viewership and interest for, viewers or whatever. So pretty cool all in all. Like, I also know people in local scenes that are, would be interested in doing tournaments that are kind of like scared off with all of the VRS stuff. But ultimately, if you can follow the rules, you actually benefit more than what you would a year or two ago making like a smaller lane.
I don't think there's much more to add here. Did I hit the nail on the head there, Striker? Land win's important. Land win's good.
100% big, huge importance. I mean, if you look at the Blue Jays situation, they went 66-30 by the previous Fragadelphia win. The funny part is how everybody's going to this event because it's like easy land wins, and then more and more good teams are saying yes to this event.
Yeah.
So it's like Complexity, NRG, M80 now are at least as well on that list. So another like
that's like a DreamHack Open kind of a tournament, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you had like one top 10 team, that's actually a pretty decent tournament all of a sudden. So it's kind of funny how it turned out. That like NIP are probably spending way more than they could possibly earn from playing at this event just to have some land wins, and it's not actually going to be as easy as they possibly think. But all they need is just an opportunity, right? And then this is an opportunity where it's open. It's anybody can sign up and come. So that's the only way they can effectively earn any points. And there are very few lands that work like this, where you can just sign up and come. And that's actually going to be on HLTV as well, at least in playoffs, I think, we've done for Fragadelphias in the past. So yeah, I mean, it is the only way they can.
Well, they still need to get some wins before before HLTV games. So.
Yeah. They have to win their group or whatever, and then get into the playoffs, and then from there they can get some actual land wins. But there they will going to play like Energy, M80, Complexity, whatever. So let's see how that works out.
Okay.
They could actually have a hard route too, because they don't really have a VRS. And I don't know how that is possibly going to get seeded. Yeah. So it's possible that they could just like go through the gauntlet of like all the teams that are,
Vicious. All right. Next little piece of recent news we got here. Talon dropping their CS roster. So that would be MHL. We saw him get released or benched, or I forget which one it was, but that was before the team announced that they were no longer in CS anymore. That was with Azza, Netic, Hazza, and of course the fifth that I'm going to get here, Addict, and then DGL as the coach. So this is a team that I, helped put together and like connect the pieces for. And then I dipped out and didn't do anything else. And then they didn't make the major, and now they're not an org anymore. So, they are an org, but they're not in Counter-Strike anymore. So that kind of sucks.
GG right there.
I wasn't successful. So I tried to help, but it was bad help. So sorry, everybody. I'll try again next time.
I mean, did you charge them anything?
No, I did it for free. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You get what you paid for.
Yeah, well, we were trying to get the Greyhound guys. And then when we couldn't get the Greyhound guys, this is what we ended up on. So we'll see what happens.
Ultimately, what a waste of time for everyone. That's not a great experience. But they tried.
But now, like someone like Netic could be a pickup for FlyQuest, for example.
Yeah. So he's definitely on the radar now.
Yeah, there's some options available there, so we could see what happens. But yeah, okay. And finally, this last one, I didn't read into this, but ESIC did something. Atox got suspended. Why does it say suspension?
Well, because it said something longer. It was like provisional suspension or something. Yeah. But then, so I just shortened it because I didn't have enough space for the whole thing.
Okay. Well, what's a provisional suspension?
Bro, I don't know what the fuck is a provisional. Well, ESIC didn't say anything on this case yet.
Well, why would they?
The news came from Blast, who disqualified them or whatever from Blast Lisbon, and then after that, PGL as well did it for. It was the LAN qualifier, which is the Mesa event for Bucharest. So we don't know the full story, but we kind of know the story that there's some match fixing involved. Apparently, I don't know where I read this, but it was someone wrote that was connected to EPL.
Right.
That they
I mean,
played.
that was Surf who kind of suggested that was connected to EPL. From what I know, that E6 sent out kind of like a notice of intention of charge, something like that. I don't remember what the official term is, but effectively to let them know that they are intending to charge the Atox players with this suspension, right? With a ban, and they're just giving Atox the time to respond to it, which is the reason why they're not announcing it ahead of time, and yeah, I mean, from the document I read, it seemed like E6 was feeling pretty good about its chances in terms of it holding up. So let's see how that works out. We know that then historically that didn't necessarily pan out the way that they would have hoped. So we'll see if this case is any different. But for sure, yeah, like there is a very clear intent of banning these players.
Well, that's sad because Atox were one of the better Mongolian teams, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean they are currently ranked
number 5, 32.
Number 5 in Asia. So they're just overtaken by Rare Atom. Like they could have easily overtaken FlyQuest if they went to Blast Lisbon. And people are asking about this, like when we were speculating last time on the show. And I read like, oh, what about Atox? I'm like, definitely not going to happen for them. Let's just say that.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't the Huns, because that's where Mazinha's brother is in, Mr. Bartak. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just to mention also, like Atox has Dobu and Cabal, who have been around.
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
Yeah, and then the rest of the players not that known, but they're in the mix with all of these like Mongols iterations and stuff like this.
Okay, and apparently the ganglion cyst, or however you say his name, ganginho, he's banned as well. What did this guy do? He then post a picture like with. It must have been like a high.
That's what I saw.
BMW,
I don't know if that's actually true. I saw somebody posted something like, I hope everybody earns as much money from CS as I have, or something. Which, let's just say saying something like that is at least criminal charges,
in a way.
So that could be taken as an admission, probably in some sense, or at least used as evidence, So maybe not the best thing to do.
Wish them all the worst.
So yeah,
straight to hell with you.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was something. Wasn't there? What was the actual? I think.
Didn't they say like 400 matches?
Yeah, about 400 bets placed via accounts directly tied to ganginho through shared IP addresses. Blah blah blah. The conduct resulted in winnings totaling approximately $20,000.
Is that it?
That's, I mean,
bro, 400 bets for us.
I mean, it's like what 50 per bet works out to. Yeah. I mean, you want to do it in a way where it doesn't raise suspicion.
It's not too suspicious, so you don't get caught, right?
400 bets from the same IP or whatever.
But his stats aren't even that bad. Like if he was like a Chad Birchall level of Counter-Strike player, then like maybe I could understand it a bit more. But what are you doing, mate? Come on,
bro.
man.
Honestly, with 20K. I mean, this is just what they.
What are you doing with 20K?
This is just what they caught. He must be more, because 20K. You can't buy a BMW and have cash to spare to take a photo with. It's impossible. So
unless he hired the BMW.
What?
He hired the BMW, took a photo with it. Yeah, borrowed a Rolex for the day. Said, "I'll leave 5K deposit. I'll bring it back."
This is like 50 Cent. Like that situation where he like declared bankruptcy and then the next day he posted a video where he was like burning money on fire.
Fucking hell. Okay. Well, gentlemen. Another show comes to the close. My day started at 8:45 a.m. I'm now done. I'm going to go and play Face It. That's going to be my day.
Nice.
Sounds good.
I haven't stopped talking since 10 a.m. this morning. It's actually crazy. This has been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. I don't know when we can be back next week because I will be, as people may have seen, I'll be doing a Blast event. And I don't know what the setup's like for Blast. I also don't have the same connections with people at Blast as I would with PGL or ESL in terms of having access to a wide connection. So I don't know what it's going to look like for next week's episode. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah.
Let's see. I didn't know that it starts so I knew, but I didn't know. Like it's literally a few days and then we're back. Like
I go
into
straight
Counter-Strike.
I go straight from here to Blast.
Yeah.
I think we start on Tuesday.
Yeah.
or maybe Wednesday. But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
So we'll see. We'll look into these details, make something out of it.
All right, we'll work it out. All right, thank you for everybody for tuning and watching. Thanks for dupreeh, who's not with us right now, but joined us for the start of the show. Had to leave a little bit early.
Fantastic.
And we'll keep seeing if we can bring in interesting personalities for you guys to listen to when it's applicable. I want to let people know as well, because I do see this comment being made, and I did touch on it on a previous episode as well. But not all players want to come on. Also, not all players are very good fits for long-form conversations. And when we do the show live, it's also quite difficult to work things out with planning. And there's another thing I want to say, which probably won't matter because most of you won't be the guys commenting in the YouTube comments. But when the SSD setups come out with players that I do with ESL, and you wonder why we don't focus on the mouse or the keyboard or the mouse pad or the grip on the mouse, is because they have conflicting sponsors with the peripherals that they use. So we are not allowed to show those peripherals at request of the teams. So there you go. There's a little peek behind the curtain, everybody. That's why you don't know what mouse grip some of the players are using in the SSD setups. Anyway, a shout out to our sponsors, 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly. Anthros, get a chair. It's good for your back. You sit and think about how long every day you're sitting down. It's important. It's like having a good bed. And Skin Place. If you're in the market to sell some skins, head over to Skin Place. Good night.
The world is changing quickly. Shoot it.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.